Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Tokwa Ask Us Anything. It's been a particularly busy news week, so I think without further ado, we'll get straight into it. And the first news item today is that Model 3 Power Boot retrofit has landed in China. So basically, this is for all the older Model 3s that don't have a power boot lifter. This is a retrofit that can be performed at Tesla service centres and possibly even ranges. I'm not entirely sure, but that's something that will be coming presumably to hopefully older Model 3s in Australia sometime soon. Next item we've got is that production Model Y has been spotted at the Giga Texas. And this is something I'll show a little bit later on in detail, but if you see where the man is lifting the bonnet of the Model Y, you can actually see there's a couple of parts missing, trim parts, which is sort of interesting. But basically, Texas has gone into obviously slow production. So we can expect that deliveries will occur in the next few weeks, possibly. Next item we've got is that Tesla is celebrating the 1 millionth 4680 battery produced in January. This was at the Cato Road test facility, which is Tesla's pilot plant for the 4680 battery. So that's great news. 1 million cells have been produced thus far. Next item we've got is GigaFest Texas has been announced as occurring on the 7th of April, which obviously is a great portent of things to come. Probably going to be in a celebration, possibly with some deliveries perhaps. You never quite know, but in any case, it's a great achievement. Bit of local news we have is that the Margaret River Supercharger is all but operational. Now, I'll just explain that quickly. This photo was taken just a few hours ago. So all the units have been installed. As you can see, there are three 250 kilowatt version 3 superchargers, and there are three high power wall connectors. All of these units are operating and powered up. However, there is some bunting that is closing off the bays at the moment as we speak, but we expect that to be removed imminently, which may be over the next day or so. Suffice to say that if and when that occurs, we'll tweak that out and everyone will know about it pretty quickly. And the last bit of news we've got is that 300 plus Model 3s have landed in Fremantle.
Wow.
So this photo was taken just over an hour ago at sunset, and that image there, which we'll get a little bit closer zoomed into after the news, is basically 300 plus cars. So that's awesome. That's awesome news for everyone waiting for their cars. One of your cars is down there.
Yep.
And there ends the news, and I'll just quickly reset. There we go, and go back to general discussion, which actually, before we do some general discussion, it's probably a great time to introduce anyone that's new to the channel or to Zoom. So if there's anyone new, please do interrupt me and say hello.
G'day, Andrew Tan here. Hopefully one of those cars you just showed is mine, picking up next week, I hope.
Awesome, fantastic. And what details, please, Andrew? What's your colour and what sort of car have you got?
Standard, red with white interior.
Okay, so standard red with white interior. I'll see one right here. This is your car right there. Congratulations.
Yeah, it looks like it.
You're a winner. So there it is.
The red with black.
Oh, actually, sorry, it might be that one. Oh, well, you know, but I'm sure you'll love them equally. And look, oh, and there's another one. So there's a few red cars. So congratulations, your car is there.
Thank you.
Anyone else that's new, please say hello. I think the Thurstons are trying to unmute, which you are unmuted. So
hello, Steve and
hello.
Christine here, and we should have a red with black interior car sitting there somewhere.
Rightio, so that's your car here. Congratulations. It's actually only 3 cars away from the white interior. So there's your car right here. So, sorry about the pixels, but I had to take it from outside of the port precinct. Actually, there are some over here as well. So there's another dark interior one. So you've
Yeah,
got
one of
oh,
those
and
is
there's
mine, Harold, the red with the black interior.
red and black. There you go. So so there's
Harold,
lots to choose from.
a chrome trim.
Sorry, say again.
Have some of those got chrome trim? I thought you couldn't get that anymore.
I don't.
I thought you zoomed in on a red one that had a chrome trim around it.
That might be the wrapping they use for international deliveries.
Yeah,
Yeah, that looks a little bit light there, but yes, you're right, Chuck. That might be. It might just be a protection film, or it could be an artifact. Actually, it's possible. It's a reflection of that number there because it's a bit of an angle, and they're shiny
Right.
cars, perhaps.
There's a Mercedes there.
Yeah, well, never mind. I don't know why they put that so close. I guess it's allowing the Teslas to improve its value. Oh, look, and there's also another car there. Interesting. Oh, there you go. Yes, so I think as Charles has suggested, they're highly likely just to be protection.
Right. But the white one there looks like it may have it as well.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out, but I do surmise that they're probably stickers that have been put on just to protect the handles. Because they're all looking light coloured, and the trim that I'm pretty sure that is actually protection strip that they put on the cars.
If you want
But-
higher res imagery, there's a drone pilot on YouTube at Shanghai called
Yep.
called Wuwa.
Yes,
Does 4K videos of the cars leaving the factory, and you can tell the ones made for export versus the ones made for local delivery based on the like.
in fact, hold that thought, Charles, because it so happens that I've got a Wuwa video to show, which is pretty exciting, where it shows another delivery about to leave China at the docks. So before we get onto that, and please, if I forget, do remind me, is there anyone else that's new? Please say hello. I think I'm going to dob Robbie in. I'm not sure if you've been on before, Robbie, but I could be. I'm sorry. I'll shoot straight to Helen. Welcome, Helen.
I'm Helen. I bought a Model 3, picked it up in December. Haven't driven it much because then I spent January and most of February in Sydney. So yeah, hello everybody.
Hello, welcome. The great thing about this forum is if you've got any burning questions, feel free to ask them. We've got hundreds of years of ownership in this room, combined ownership, and probably millions of kilometers as well. So we've all got a lot of experience in these cars, and we can answer all your questions. And there's no such thing as a silly question, because we were all Tesla ignorant
Newbies.
at one stage, newbies at one stage or another. So welcome, Helen.
I'm in the process of getting a quote to install a Zappy. So if anyone's got any tips about that, I'd love to hear them. I've
Cool.
got solar panels on my roof, and at the moment I'm charging it like a vacuum cleaner, but it takes a while.
Yes. So you've already bought the Zappy?
No, I got a quote today for installation. I suppose my first question is it best to get supply and install? I have an electrician who actually built this house, or was the electrician for the build of this house, and he knows the system very well, and he's given me a quote which, interestingly, is exactly the same as the Zappy.
So you haven't actually purchased the Zappy yet?
No, I didn't want to go ahead before I heard
Yep.
what people like you might have to say about it.
So you've got a 5 kilowatt inverter and 6.6 kilowatts of panels, solar panels.
Kevin Lewis is down the bottom shaking his head. I'll defer to him as to what I've got because, those numbers go in one ear and out the other.
That's
I think
cool.
I've got I think I've got a 3 kilowatt system.
Oh, cool. Yep. No worries. Okay. And do you leave your car at home during the week
Yeah, I work at home, so it's
Right,
it's
cool.
home during the day, which is why it's perfect for me because I
Yep.
can charge it during the day. Mm.
Cool. Okay, so without getting into the quote too closely, I presume the Zappy itself would have cost in the. Have you got a three-phase house or single phase?
3.
Three-phase. So it probably would have cost you about $2,000 for the Zappy plus installation, perhaps.
A little bit less than 2, I think it was
Yep.
coming out at. And the quote, weirdly, the electrician and the installer who supplied the quote from Zappy were both within $50 of each other, about 1,300. Mm.
Wow.
Wow. So the total
That's a
system
lot.
price is roughly
Well,
3,000.
Yep, about
Okay.
that. Mm.
My electrician will probably do it for you for 750.
Has he done it before?
Mine put a Tesla power charger in for 750, and I can't think that would be much different, or would it?
I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm interested in finding out. I know this
So-
electrician has never done it before, and he's keen to do it because it's, you know, he understands he needs to learn how, but I'm a little bit concerned about lack of expertise.
He should be paying you for the learning.
So the first thing is you've got if it is a 3 kilowatt system, that's fairly small. I mean, the most you can get is 5 kilowatts easily inverter.
Yeah.
So the first question you got to ask is what's the purpose of the Zappy, and the stated purpose of the Zappy is to divert solar energy that would otherwise go out to the grid and to divert that into your car instead. So
Yep.
rather than getting paid the DEBs or the REBs, which is either 7 cents per unit or 10 cents per unit or 3, depending on the time of day, you want to put it into your car, which is beneficial to you doing that. Now, the first question you got to ask is, well, for instance, how many Ks do you do on average a year? So over the next few years, how much energy are you going to require to charge your car at home? Then you've got to look at, let's call it the $3,000 cost of the total cost of the Zappy installed system. What you are actually doing is prepaying $3,000 at least worth of free energy in capital cost.
Mm.
So you will be breaking even once $3,000 worth of electricity has passed through the Zappy and not
Well-
gone to the grid into your car.
Well,
So-
yes, but
so-
that ignores the fact that part of the reason for doing it is not to consume coal-fired electricity.
Absolutely.
So it's not a direct financial.
But
But if you want to look at those terms, you have to then look at the fact that if you are actually exporting that solar to the grid, someone else is using it instead. And then if you then import, say at night time to charge your car, well,
Yep.
yes, that is being consumed, but it's been 100% offset as far as emissions are concerned with the solar that you produced and went straight to the grid. So on that strict environmental terms, you're in absolute balance. In fact, you could almost argue if you did charge your car at night time and they were able to not under throttle some power station, that it could possibly be slightly more efficient. I mean, that's very tenuous, but you know, I think the most important thing is to look at the environmental factor. Is you've got solar, you've already doing a great thing for the environment, regardless of you having a car or not, or if you're charging from your panels or not, or effectively borrowing from the grid and paying it back late, or paying back early and borrowing it later. The main thing that is of concern is the economic aspect of, is it effective to pay $3,000 for a system that it's possible may not pay for itself for possibly a great number of years, against the
I've worked
alternative. Go,
Harold,
Pete.
I just did some quick figures. So a 3 kilowatt system should produce roughly about 13, 14 kilowatt hours or units of electricity a day on average. If you're at home working during a day, there's a good chance that you're using most of the power that system produces. So the amount that you'd have in surplus to export to the grid would be fairly minimal. But let's assume, let's give the Zappy the hypothetically or theoretically the best possible scenario. So let's assume that all the power that your solar system produces is would otherwise be exported. So let's assume you go back to Sydney or Melbourne for the next 20 years, you turn everything off at the power points and there's no one at home using any power. Even then, it would be a 14-year payback period. So you would have prepaid, that $3,000 would have prepaid 14 years of surplus electricity that would otherwise go to the grid. So that's a real, and I mean, and you know, more likely it will be over 100 years because you know, if you've got a 3 kilowatt system, I mean, do you know how much your bills are? How much you're paying roughly at the moment?
Well, not very much because I live on my own and I'm fairly frugal, but I've noticed when I'm running the air conditioner and charging the car, I'm using more than the system is producing.
No doubt.
And I've worked out that I either need to run the air conditioner or charge the car and not both at the same time.
So just put it into perspective, your car, you know, if you've got it set at the, you know, 16 amp level, will consume about 11 kilowatts. And, you know, having I'm assuming it's a 3 kilowatt inverter. So the most you'll be able to produce is 3 kilowatts. So, but even if you put your car right down to, what's the minimum? Is it
6 amps, three phase.
Yeah, so 6 amps is what, just a little bit over your 3 phase, so a little bit over 3 kilowatts anyway. So
4.3 kilowatts.
Yeah, there you go. So once you're charging the car, you won't have anything to export at all.
Ellen, I would just like to know, do you know of the Energy EV vehicle tariff plan?
Just let me answer the first question. The account that I've just paid for electricity was for $66.
And are you able to see, so it'll tell you on your second page how much you exported back to the grid. It should be itemized on the second page.
Net export peak, 113.6130 units. Net export off peak, 817.5090.
That's right. And the bill is over how many days? It's usually averages out about 60.
And it might be affected by the fact that I was away for, it's 16th of December to 18th of February. So bear in mind the house wasn't used very much.
Yeah, so 2 months. So let's divide that by 60. So you're exporting about 2 units a day. So, and that's while you're in Sydney as well. So that would take, I wasn't far off. That would take 103 years to pay back. I said it would be over 100 years, but so I wasn't far off. Yeah. So if you're, and that's obviously at a time when you weren't at home, when you were in Melbourne, as you said. So, you know, if you're at home, you'll probably find you're basically not exporting any power at all back to the grid.
If I'm home and charging the car the way I intend to.
So whether you're charging the car, whether you're, you know, using the computer, boiling the kettle, you know, doing the washing, you know, having the lights on, having the aircon on, whatever it may be, you know, I think you'll find,
So I was just checking my other accounts, and of course last year they were affected by the fact that we all got money given to us by the government on our electricity accounts. So they're not really a good measure. But basically,
no, because we looked at your consumption, and the amount that you would have got would have been a dollar amount, so that won't actually impact your consumption. Yeah.
But what you're saying really is that two things. From an environmental point of view, occasional charging off the grid is acceptable. And
from an environmental point of view, like Harold mentioned before, there'll be a zero net difference because the only difference is whether you are charging the car with green electricity or whether your neighbour or someone else is using the green electricity that you've exported. But either way, it's being used. So as far as the planet is concerned, the ledger is squared on that. So there's no
I hadn't thought of it like that. That's kind of reassuring, because if that's the case, I can drive around the corner to Bunnings and plug it into a Synergy.
Helen, sorry, do you mind if I ask? Do you intend to upgrade the your inverter and panels? Because that could factor.
I haven't, only because this is a small house. I don't think I need to.
Yep.
But what would be the advantage in doing that?
Well, you then have more excess power that you could use to charge the car with the excess from. But again, it comes back to what your cost benefit is. And another factor, with the environment,
I've got very limited roof space, so I think we squeezed as we could.
Oh, okay. Well, that's limited that then. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
There might have been room for one or two more, but
the other thing, Helen, is that you can. What's actually really good for the grid, actually, and also the environmental aspect of the grid, is to charge your car fairly hard between, say, 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. because that's when there's, particularly in summer, autumn, and spring, because that's when there's peak solar production. And actually, particularly in spring and autumn, and in absolute particular on a Sunday, on a mild Sunday lunchtime, in spring or autumn, is if you can charge your car as hard as possible at that time. It doesn't matter how hard your meter spins or how many times the LED flashes, but you're actually assisting the grid, because you're helping to suck up all that surplus solar that other houses are producing in abundance and that commercial properties aren't using.
Yeah, so I understand that, but I can only charge the car when it's plugged in, like I describe it as a vacuum cleaner. It only charges at a minimum rate. That's what I think.
Helen, how many kilometres would you travel on average each week?
Not very far.
But you could just plug it into a 10 amp socket. It would take about 2.5 kilowatts, or not even that, just over 2 kilowatts at a time, which means that your house could use under 1 kilowatt. So that's your 3 kilowatts. You're not sending anything out, but you're not importing anything.
That's basically what I've been doing.
And that would keep you fine. And every now and again, you pop down to the supermarket and plug it in there free of charge.
Yeah.
I like the Bunnings idea.
Yeah, well, there's a Synergy outlet at Bunnings. Bunnings at Subiaco. As I say, the only reason I have thought that rather defeated my purpose of buying the car, or one of them, was that was using dirty electricity. But you know, if that's
it's no different to imagining you have dirty cash, and when you deposit a soiled banknote into the bank and then you withdraw it a week later, it's a clean note, right? It's clean plastic. So,
I do provide a service to clean all the notes. I will collect them from you.
Yeah. Is Harold, Harold, you're not promoting money laundering, eh?
Business has been closed down, Harold.
All sorts of alarms going off at that point. Yeah.
Isn't that legal? I thought you could wash your money.
No,
I don't know. I wash mine regularly.
I'd be hitting the pause button about now, Harold.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other aspect, so one of the things that a lot of people maybe don't realise as well is that at night, when wind is often a bigger proportion of the power supply. So whereas the energy grid works on whoever can provide the cheapest costs of power, and they get to sell it first. And at night, when the traditional generators have wound down, and you've got things like wind that can provide power to the grid very cheaply, your actual proportion of wind power that you're putting into your car actually goes up at night.
Yep.
So, you know, it's not obviously the case, you know, if there's no wind, but I mean, you know, there's usually wind somewhere. So that's maybe another factor that might help you.
I don't think we have much wind generation in WA, but there is a bit.
No, we do actually. No, we do. And that gets to the point that Wilhelm alluded to earlier, which was the Synergy EV tariff. So it's a great deal about that. This is on the economic side. Forget the environmental side, but on the economic side, and you can tell that as Richard was saying, that this does get to wind generation as well, is that Synergy are providing a price signal by, if you just simply Google Synergy EV tariff, and it's available to people that have a domestic tariff, so a house tariff, and their car has been purchased in their personal name, not a business entity. So if that's you, then you can get onto the Synergy EV tariff. The great thing about it is there's no sting in the tail. There's no higher time of use tariff, but there is a discount that applies between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. And that discount for your entire house consumption, including your car, is about 30%. So that's roughly, goes from 29 cents per kilowatt hour down to roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour for whatever electricity your house uses between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m.
Right.
So that's another price signal that you could actually, apart from charging your car deliberately, say during a Sunday lunchtime, you could also take it. Well, the fact is, actually, even if you ignore when you charge your car, your house will benefit. If it's a hot summer's night and you've got your aircon running, it's going to be 30% cheaper to do that between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m.
It's not limited to the power that you use to charge your vehicle. It's the power.
Absolutely not. Synergy meter it from their 1 meter. There is a cost, however. If you have you've got solar, so you'll have a digital meter. There is a reprogramming cost. I think that's about $130, $40 or $20 roughly. But I believe you get some of those back in installments over the next 6 months of having that tariff, as a way of stopping people from jumping in and out of tariffs willy-nilly for entertainment's sake or something.
None of this affects the fact that when I'm charging at home, it's slow. And
yes, but you have said that you don't drive your car very much.
And I'm home during the day a lot. Yes.
So let's say you drive your car 200 kilometers a week.
Yep.
Actually, let's call it 400 kilometers a week. If you're simply charging off your 10 amp outlet, you can gain in a 12-hour period approximately 120 kilometers, actually a bit more than that. In a 10-hour period overnight, you'll gain 120 kilometers of range. You do that for 36 hours and you've gone from flat to full. But if you're only averaging 200 or 300 or 400 kilometers, well, in a few days, your car will be full. Now, another very cost-effective alternative is with your Universal Mobile Connector, your UMC that came for free in your car. In the boot of your car, there is a 15 amp tail. So what you could actually do is get an electrician to fit a 15 amp general purpose outlet, a power point, in your garage, which you plug your connector into, and that will charge your car 50% quicker. So that would then gain more like 160, 170 kilometers of range overnight in a 10-hour period, or twice that in a 24-hour period, just from a power point. But it's a 15 amp, it's like a caravan style 15 amp power point. And to do that properly, you'd need an electrician to set it up on a separate circuit. And that cost would be only a couple of $100 maximum.
Yeah, but please tell the electrician to put it on a separate circuit, because one of my friends put a 15 amp socket in his garage, and now when he charges his Tesla and he puts on the microwave, the power trips, right? So make a point of telling the electrician. Don't assume they're going to do it.
Okay.
It's also a good idea to make sure he's got a license. Make sure the electrician's actually got a license. That's handy, because then they wouldn't do things like that.
I'm confident about my electrician. Yep.
There is one other option as well. There is always the Tesla one, the Gen 3 Powerwall with the 7.3 meter cable on it. It's only $780. That's a lot cheaper.
Yes, and Helen, with that, you can charge your car on 3-phase at I presume if you have a standard Model 3, you can charge your car at approximately 83 kilometers per hour if you're in a hurry. So say if you've got on a long trip and you've gotten back home and you need to go out again for whatever reason, Tesla's $780 plus installation it's called a high power wall connector that
Yeah.
can, at its maximum, charge your car at 83 kilometres of added range per hour.
Well, that's clearly going to be more than enough. I think you've talked me out of buying a Zappy.
Yeah, and we don't mean to do that because we
No,
hate
no.
Zappy. There is absolutely, if you have a lot of solar, so let's just say, for example, you're fortunate enough to have gotten approval to have a 15 kilowatt solar system, and you drive a lot, or you have 2 EVs in your family. It is absolutely, Zappy's not the cheapest product, but it's one of the products that does the job quite well. And in that case, Pete could mount an economic argument as to why that would be useful in that case. But as he's explained and others have, in your particular case, it doesn't make environmental sense because it doesn't actually affect the environment whether you have a Zappy or not whatsoever. And economically, it just doesn't pay back. So unless you had a relative that was selling Zappies or you were supporting their business for some other altruistic reason, in your case, it just doesn't make economic sense. But before I go any further, I should preface what I just said with this, which is...
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
But having said that, the advice we're giving is earnest. It's with all care and no responsibility. But it comes from a body of knowledge.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, is there anyone else that's new just before we go on? And I have to get back to Charles's Woo-Wah video, which I haven't forgotten, Charles. So if anyone's new, please do say hello before we move on. And you can always say hello later if you like to.
Well, I should say hello. My name's Kevin Lewis. I'm Helen's partner. And so it's been useful to have a discussion about this Zappy. You know, the economics of it are pretty apparently not there.
Cool. Welcome, Kevin. Yeah, absolutely not. No, it's just, unfortunately, in your particular use case, it just doesn't make economic sense, nor does it make any added environmental sense. So you're already doing all the right things.
Did you tell us about your car? What color is your car?
No, I don't have one. Helen's got one.
Helen.
Yeah. So Helen's got the white with the black interior.
Oh, Helen's on mute. She's chatting away, but we can't hear her.
Oh, okay.
As long as it's got white seats,
Kevin's lucky enough to be able to borrow my car every now and again. It's a white Model 3. I would have got a blue one, but I had to wait too long and I'm impatient, so white was available.
And it's a free option. So as a Poverty Pearl White, it's an awesome choice.
And the seats.
Poverty. They're not poverty.
And we do love to say that it's Poverty Pearl White, not Poverty White, Poverty Pearl White. So Kevin, I've got a burning question for you. So when are you going to get a real car and get a Tesla?
Oh, look, as soon as possible. It's just a matter of I've just bought a house in Fremantle with one of my daughters, and I've just got to wait for the economics to be,
Okay, I'm not sure what the rate of a daughter is these days on the open market, but
in Ukraine at the moment, it's 4.9 going up on the latest stock market.
Yeah.
Well, she's a saleable item, I'm just waiting for the market to peak. That's all. That's all I gotta
You
do.
get 2 cars.
Yeah, and then bang, I'm into a Model Y, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
well, that's something we'll be discussing a little bit later on because obviously we're all waiting at tenterhooks for the Model Y to come out.
Helen, I'm sure you have black seats, don't you?
She does.
Black seats, wonderful.
Black seats, yeah.
Black seats.
It's more sophisticated, right?
Black seats. Black seats.
Black seats are the way to go.
It's a very safe colour.
Better, and I've got both, and white are better.
Yeah, the old people like the white, like Nigel. He loves his white. It helps them park better. It keeps the radio balanced. But I prefer the black myself, like most people.
The white reflects 5G, so I'm safe.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So do shiny heads.
Sorry about that. Okay, let's just before Chuck, because Chuck's actually 3 hours into the future, so he has seen the future and it's good. So in fact, he'll be into tomorrow before we are. So as per Chuck's previous introduction about the WUA video, this is, I think, what he was talking about, and it looks like this. And what you'll see shortly is it proves. Sorry, I haven't done it. I haven't put it up yet.
You're breaking up before.
Oh,
No,
am
I
I
can
breaking
hear,
up?
No, I can hear you clearly.
He wasn't. You are, Alex.
You're good
Yeah,
now.
you're Alex. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so let's throw to this video. And what you'll see is all of these cars in a moment are all right-hand drive cars. As the drone flies around, see here, these little white bits, they are the steering wheel protectors, and they're on the correct side of the car.
Ah.
Now,
They're all
all of these dark cars are probably UK, but I just don't know about these or if the whole batch is UK. So they're all right-hand drive cars.
Could be Hong Kong or Japan, but it's not Australia.
But I don't know what the transit time is between China and, let's say, Europe, or China and Australia. I would have thought Australia was lesser time. And bearing in mind that the quarter, there's only about a month and a week left in the quarter. So would there be enough time for those cars to get to Europe or the UK, say, to make it in time?
I thought I saw some reports today that deliveries have begun in Wales, England, Ireland.
Yes. Yeah.
For Model Y, yes. That's dead true.
Model Y.
Absolutely.
The ones that they manufacture in January are probably going to Europe. I think in Australia, I think this quarter deliveries have only just started this week in Melbourne, I think.
Yes.
There's another few weeks of that to come, but then they'll start concentrating on the local market in March. I think their plan is to not have any cars in shipment on 31st of March. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes. In spite of the fact that Elon Musk has sort of said that these quarterly end of quarter rushes are a little bit insane and they do cost Tesla money and they should stop it. But I guess it doesn't make sense if you can avoid it to have any cars obviously in transit if you can avoid it. And obviously with scheduling, you can do that.
I went onto the UK website, Tesla, to see the wait times for the Model Y. And it's Q2, I think, for the long range and Q3 for the performance. So I expect all those cars will be for the UK.
So UK, it's May for long range Model Y and late 2022 for performance. They don't do the standard range Model Y.
Yeah, it did say Q3 today.
Oh, for Model Y.
Yeah, Model Y performance was Q3.
Oh, okay. And it said that today, Nigel.
Yes, when I checked.
Right. Because last
correct, but as Jared keeps telling me, I'm a bit old and forgetful.
Because last week they said late 2022, which was a change, but maybe they've gone back and readjusted. Perhaps. I wonder if that's on the basis of European production. Perhaps.
For Berlin hasn't started yet, and there's still a hold up.
Yes. Sadly so.
Don't you love bureaucracy?
Well, the irony is that, as we saw in the news, Giga Texas, I think, commenced building about a year after Berlin started, and it looks like they're going to do deliveries before Berlin, clearly, because they're all ready to go. And it wouldn't surprise me on the 7th of April if they didn't actually also have some deliveries as part of the celebrations. That's my little prediction. So yeah, go Texas, and yeah, Europe's a hard place to build big factories, or should I say Germany? All right. So anyone else got any questions, or anyone that's new, please do say hello so we can welcome you properly.
I just want to make another comment on the synergy and the offsetting of electricity, and if it makes your heart warmer to buy green electricity, Synergy has a plan where you can actually donate green energy, and you can make that a payment per month, or you can do a once-off donation to them, or whatever the case may be, if you really feel that you're cash for a little bit of planet friendliness.
I feel like I've donated a lot to Synergy over my life. A lot. So yeah.
You certainly have, Jared.
Yeah, I want to give them more. That's definitely give them some green energy, some brown energy.
So perhaps we should have a ask us anything-a-thon in favour of Synergy, perhaps for some fundraising.
Yeah, they need it.
24 hours. Imagine that. We'd probably break the internet when that YouTube video goes online.
Well, the policy committee go out for lunch or tea once they've put a new policy in place. I get their newsletter things, and they were so happy with the last policy release, they went out for lunch on our savings or on our contribution. They pay us less, so they go out for lunch.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Okay, so
just one last thing on the Zappi thing, just because it might be slightly relevant if anyone is thinking of changing their inverter at any point, because when we put our solar in a year and a half ago now, the installer offered a SolarEdge inverter combined with a charger. So it's kind of like a Zappi and an inverter all in one, which I guess the downside is if it does die, you lose both. But we've always got a plug socket for a backup. So yeah, and that's kind of the most efficient, because then it literally excess is just going straight off the panels through the inverter and then straight into the car. So you're not going, you don't have like a cable run or anything from a main switchboard. It just goes straight in there. So that's kind of an option. I mean, it probably cost an extra $1,500, and we're on single phase to do that over the standard SolarEdge. However, it has been a battle for the last 18 months because it hasn't worked right. And I think actually today they might have finally sorted the software out. So yeah, that's the teething issues of going with something that, is relatively new before they've fixed all the problems with it. But yeah, fingers crossed it works now. So anyway, yeah, so if the point is, if you're thinking of upgrading your solar and you want to go to inverter and a Zappi, there is a SolarEdge product that will do both combined.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a possibility when you've got a larger system that makes it very economically or more economically viable. That's awesome.
Harold, could
Nigel.
I just go back to the Margaret River chargers? I saw that it's also got 3 Tesla chargers there. Are they running on 3-phase and 22 or 11 kilowatts?
Yes. So they're 3-phase.
Free or?
Yes. I don't think Tesla is billing any, and that's the units just here. I don't think they're on record as having billed any HPWCs anywhere in the world. So,
do you know if those have been opened to all vehicles, or are they Tesla only?
Don't know.
Tesla only.
I don't know. So it would require obviously a Kona or anything else that's not a Tesla to give that a try. But it's certainly what the version 3 high power wall connectors are capable of doing. There's a software switch to switch between free to everyone to use, or available to anyone, all EVs, or Tesla only. And as too are the superchargers. So there will be a time, make no mistake, that these 250 kilowatt units will be able to charge all EVs at some time in the future, because in the Netherlands it's already happening to all of their superchargers, and really we resemble the Netherlands more than any other country in Europe as far as, you know, well, apart from size, of course. You know, there's no difference between here and in the Netherlands as far as supercharging is concerned.
But what
apart
about
from distances?
What about like smoking grass or chips and mayo
Well,
that's got over there?
Jared, Exhibit A, this is in Margaret River. I think Margaret River probably punches above its weight as far as that metric's concerned.
Once Margaret River gets power on, those chargers are going to be fantastic. Once they hook up the actual power from Perth to run them, it's going to be amazing.
Well, see, the power is P that way. Power is that way.
Oh, okay. It's coming.
So it's coming from that way.
Comes in on a truck once a week or something.
Oh,
Thanks,
actually,
this from Mandurah. Did you say, Alex? Sorry.
I said 2 weeks from Andrew. Yeah.
2 weeks from Mandurah.
Actually, Pete, have you got handy what's that quote? Do you have that quote handy from the Australian Petroleum something industry?
That's
yeah. Let me bring it up. Give me 1 second.
I believe that quote's been found as to be.
You know the one I'm talking about that we discussed before, Pete. So yeah, if you can please bring that up, and I'll just move on a little bit to. Oh yes, this is a little video that you might be interested in, which is I did have it spooled up. I'm going to have to do it again. Apologies for this. Okay, this is why Tesla is so much more awesome than anyone else. Unless you've got this quote, Pete, coming soon, or you need a couple more minutes.
Yeah, no. Here it comes. Got to find it on the page.
Is Pete putting his chicken suit on or something? Is he getting dressed up?
Yes, he is. Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's got to put some tar on first, and then he's got to put the feathers on.
I'm just looking for the fairy floss.
Yes, that's the one. That's exactly the one, Pete. That's the one we need to rant about.
Well, this was copyright with the Wiggles or something that we couldn't do this anymore. Okay.
Well,
actually stretch it a little bit. Okay.
We've got no one called Jeff, but there are people that do fall asleep. We just can't call him Jeff.
No, that's right. We call him Richard Cooper.
Okay, I've got the quote.
And Richard.
Okay, so the background to this is that there was Pete did a very effective smackdown of the. Sorry, what's this association called, Pete?
It's the Australasian Convenience and Petroleum Marketers Association. Their purpose in life is to promote fossil fuels, so diesel and petrol for wholesale and retail. So obviously wholesalers and service stations and roadhouses.
So this association basically brought out a study that claimed, or posed the question. They sort of posed the question, or the question was posed at what petrol price would petrol need to get to for EVs to be economically viable, or to make you go and buy an EV because that's a better thing for you to do. And the price, I think, was
$3.85. But then they've quoted three figures. One's $3.50, one's $3.30, one's $3.85. So
okay, so then
it will hit that next week, won't it?
So then what Peter did very well, and I'm going to very inelegantly struggle to get his video channel. Here it is. And I can obviously highly recommend this channel here, which is Ahead of the Curve with Pete. It is biased anti-EV information. And this is a great rant video that it only goes for 6 minutes and 58 seconds. Pete, you've really got to try and go for another 3 hours, 6 minutes and 58 seconds. But it's okay. You'll get there in the end. But he did a very great smackdown of the economic farce that allegation was, and Pete basically demonstrated that not only does it not matter what the petrol price is, but a Model 3 over any average Australian ICE car worth about $40,000 after a mere 3 years of use, it would require that the petrol station pays you $1.65.
And 16 cents a litre. Yep.
Sorry, $1.16?
Yep.
Yes, per litre. So you go and put 100 litres in your car, and you go to the checkout, and they'll give you $116 every time you do that. The Tesla Model 3 would be ahead by a mere $1 after 3 years of total ownership. So
and if petrol was free, you'd be about $5,700 ahead after 3 years.
Is that if
So
the
then-
government cut the excise?
So then Bridie Schmidt wrote an article and sought a reply. She had some criticism of that fictitious report from the Australasian Convenience blah 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 Petroleum whatever association, and the reply was from this spokesperson. Pete, what was the reply?
It was. Oh God, I had a bit. Oh, here we go. He also said, "We are agnostic on mobility energy. We will put fairy floss in people's cars if that is their mobility energy source of choice."
Now,
So-
what
so
that
Pete-
clearly states is they don't actually care what they have to shovel into your car.
No.
If it's fairy floss, if it's baby pandas, if it's aborted fetuses, if it's unobtainium, if it's radioactive waste, they don't care what the substance is. What they care about is maintaining relevance in the market and having a stranglehold on the energy delivered to make your car mobile. And that statement is one of the most outrageous statements that any association has ever made. It makes the statements that tobacco industry people have made over the years absolutely pale into insignificance to the audacity and the rudeness of that statement. They don't care about the environment. They don't care what they sell. What they care about is the fact that they can sell something exclusively and put it in your car to make it go. If they could shovel electrons into your car, but transport it via tankers or some other means that is exclusive to them, they'd be all for it, even fairy floss. It's outrageous.
Very damning statement, and it just exposes exactly what they're about. And I mean, you've got to wonder what's the motivation for putting out this misinformation. Now, in that video, what I said was, look, this is my figures. This is how I've arrived at the figures. And I'm just, who am I? I'm just one guy with a spreadsheet. They're trying to protect $30 billion of what I would argue are soon to be stranded assets. And what analysis have they come up with? Well, all we could find was this press statement, and they've basically said, oh no, we just wanted to make it simplistic. So all we did is we assumed that an electric car costs $25,000 more than a internal combustion engine equivalent. And then we try to look at what the price would have to be for petrol for you to get that extra $25,000 back over 5 years. And we came to $3.85. I'm like, okay, so you're completely ignoring service and maintenance. You're completely ignoring depreciation, which is the big one. You're completely ignoring insurance, registration. I mean, it's it's obviously been done to suit their purposes, which is to try. What's that?
They don't share an office with national. They don't
Sorry,
share
Alex,
a-
we just missed that. Hang on, Jared. Just Alex, say that again slowly. Sorry, we missed it.
the petrol people, they're looking for excuses to buy petrol when you've got electric vehicles on the road, like costing bugger all to the public. Like, it's a no-brainer.
And the thing is that they made their motivation perfectly clear. They don't actually care what they sell as long as they can sell something, and that's the point. It's beyond surreal. It just shows that what they can see in the future, and this is true, is their demise, and that's not a bad thing. You know,
but it doesn't have to be that way. And you know, if they were looking after, and I would argue they probably have a fiduciary duty of some sort to look after their members' best interests. And so what they should be doing is providing them with objective information based on which the service station owners and the wholesalers can make their decision. But you know, by providing this misinformation, they're doing a disservice to their own members for no other reason but to try and maintain their own relevance.
That would be like the Farriers Association at the turn of the 20th century saying horseless carriages are an evil thing. They'll never take off. They're useless. You know, hay is ubiquitous. And even if hay was given away, you know, what would have to be the price of hay before you'd even consider buying a horseless carriage?
I never
and of course
said
they ended up, you know, they ended up not actually extinct, but you know, a lot of people went out of that industry through natural attrition, which will happen with the petroleum industry as well, and it'll be replaced with something better. And this now is just another version of that. And like Pete said, I mean, there are service stations in Europe that have gone completely out of fossil fuels and wholly into supplying electricity. So they've taken all their Bowsers out and they've just put fast DC chargers in their place, and they still have their very lucrative small shop. Convenience shop.
Yeah. You've only got to look in Norway at the Circle K petrol stations. They have now got, in just about every single one of them, a mass of superchargers and fast DC chargers and so on sitting there. A hell of a lot.
And this is what the Australian Convenience Petroleum
ACA,
Association need to do, is they should have actually said, well, this is a great opportunity for us to pivot and to provide the future services that are required. And it'll be at our gain.
Well,
electric vehicles are so good for service stations. So good. It's going to make their lives so much better.
Absolutely.
Harold, I've got a question as a new member of the club. Is this a club that delves into fact, logic, and common sense to support its members?
Definitely not.
What do you mean? Logic and normality.
No,
Rubbish.
definitely none of that. And most of our members don't have all their teeth either. So we try to keep it that way.
What did you say that for? That's outrageous.
There you go. Exactly. 100%.
Oh dear. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of fun. This is a video that very nicely demonstrates the superiority of Tesla, and you'll see why in just a couple of moments. What this shows is it's the world's quickest sedans. It's a Lucid Air versus a Taycan Turbo S versus a Tesla Plaid in a drag race. So it goes like this.
What's the Plaid?
$170,000 US. $218,000 US. Only $124,000 US.
Yeah.
So the most expensive car had the slowest start.
So John Hennessy is going to give us the arm drop. Launch control activated. Lucid on the right. Plaid on the left. Bye-bye, guys.
It's not all about that, you know. I mean, it isn't a drag race.
My 750 horsepower Taycan Turbo S could not hang with the 4-digit horsepower club.
Did you see the one with the Aptera against the Model 3?
Oh, yeah. I still want one.
These look like quarter miles, Harold.
Yeah, that was it was filmed in Mandurah. That's safe, just a safe location in Mandurah that we did it.
No, I think it was in Kwinana, Joe.
We can't hear you, Harold.
Kwinana.
Sorry, this one coming up is a rolling version.
Hasn't the Porsche got a couple of gears?
Two.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So was it trying to change gears or something at that point? That was a
Yeah, the
smack.
handbrake on. Didn't have a chance really.
Can't hear you, Harold.
You're muted, Harold.
It must have had the handbrake on.
Yeah.
It just goes to show Tesla's the best car. It's just, and that was the cheapest as well.
Yeah, but it's not all about that, though, is it? I mean, it's when it's a drag race, but you know, it's yeah.
So what is it about?
It's all about
Richard?
that, Richard. Shut up.
Yeah,
Lots of losers
is
all
that
the
Gina
time.
in the background?
It's
Gina.
about-
I can see Gina.
Glad
She's
you-
there, Gina.
It's about handling around corners. It's about the feel of it, though, as well. You know, it's like you can't compare it unless, like, if I was going on a racetrack, I would not want the S. I would want the Porsche.
Yeah. It's been a hot day up there today, isn't it, Richard?
It's 41.
It's been a very hot day up there. You're
And I was
suffering
out
from
in it
Yeah.
most of the day.
I can tell. Like you're struggling a little bit tonight.
Look, it's reassuring to be in a car that's behind all the others, just in case anything bad happens. You can just watch it all happen in front of you. You know, it's reassuring to, you know, there might be a few locusts out there they want to clear first or something.
I actually have a mate back in London that's got a Taycan. So, and he, yeah, actually, I need to catch up with him, but yeah, like, he's always been a Porsche guy. and I fell off my chair and he said he was getting one. So, not that we'll care about that and the Tesla owners.
A friend of mine just bought a Performance Model 3. He had a Lotus, but I had a Lotus stuff, and one of his good friends is an absolute BMW man. He will not even sit in the Model 3. He just as if he doesn't get convinced. He won't even sit in it.
That's it.
He's got an M3 and he thinks it's the best car in the world. And
Tesla should have been BMW, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I actually met someone. Sorry, go on.
Has anybody been watching the Olympics? They've done a lot of advertising for a Queensland politician, and they've done a lot of advertising for Kia. But the argument is that Tesla have gone out on a limb and provided this weird screen where you press buttons and so on. But people really want to drive a car that's just got gears and all the standard things. Why do we think Tesla is so good? What's your thoughts?
So David, I've said this probably many times, but in fact, most of us in the room, let me have a little quick look. I am certain that every one of us in this room used to own a Nokia mobile phone. And Nokia was one of the largest companies on earth, and it had the absolute lion's share of all mobile phones market share. And they were brilliant phones, and their batteries would last a week, which was fantastic. I'm sure a lot of us have forgotten that, but they used to last a week. You could answer them in your pocket because you could feel intuitively where the answer key was, and to hang up, you could do the same thing without looking at it. And then a little fruit company came out with this weird flat piece of glass and said, "Hey, this is the future." And I mean, I've got to say myself, I looked at that and went, "Yeah, but you've got no tactile feedback. It's just a flat screen. There's nothing there. You can't feel, you can't get any tactile feedback, nothing." So, everyone scoffed and laughed and said, "Well, it's not that user-friendly, and the battery only lasts for a day, if you're lucky." What's the point? Well, the point is that Nokia, that was one of the world's largest companies, is probably one of the world's smaller companies now, sadly, because they didn't evolve. And this weird fruit company went from strength to strength that threatened to go broke several times in its 40 years of existence.
Is that BlackBerry?
Very good.
That's very good. So the smartphone as we know it now is completely and absolutely ubiquitous. Almost everyone, with very few exceptions, has a smartphone with a flat menu-based, menu-driven screen. In 10 years' time, all cars will be the same as a Tesla, because there is nothing that is more intuitive than having a appropriately designed menu-driven screen where all the important things at the time you need them are on the screen and available, notwithstanding some of Tesla's interesting software updates. But the great thing with menus is you can change them, you can alter them, you can customize them, you can make them where they need to be and when they need not to be. I think, Jared, you actually you got a car recently, and this is another oblique reference to further integration with the internet. And can you tell us about the awesome app that you were spruiked recently?
I picked up a car last Thursday, a Toyota Hilux Rogue, and here's a photo if you want to spotlight that. There's a photo of the car.
Hang on 2 seconds.
Oh, hang on a sec. There we go.
There we go.
With its plates on.
Right, you've gone rogue. How long? 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Custom plates.
The best plates.
Spoiling the chat by displaying an ice vehicle.
I had to buy an ice vehicle because I'm waiting for the Cybertruck. But the minute that the Cybertruck arrives, I will be
Swapping the plates.
Selling the ice vehicle and keeping those plates, correct.
So
You
let's
guys-
get back to Richard, just 2 seconds. So
Yeah, no worries.
you were told about an app.
Yeah, a Toyota app that
No.
they set me up with, and the
Awesome.
sales guy, who was really a really good guy, and sort of apologised for the 7.5 weeks wait for the car. He said that was quite good because other people have been waiting over a year and a half, and tried to apologise the fact that the car stayed on the wharf for nearly 3 weeks. I thought the car was going to start paying rent on the wharf, but yeah, it was there for 3 weeks. And he told me about this great app, this Toyota app, which this is it at the moment. I can show you. I can show you that. It's all right. And
Hang on, I'll just spotlight you. Just 2 seconds. There we go.
It's nothing really fantastic, really, but he thought it was amazing because it shows you the where the petrol stations are, and Toyota do discount fuel a couple of times a year, and they'll tell you about where the fuel is that's cheap, and he's saying how great this app was. And I said to him, "You think that's a really good app, do you?" He said, "Yeah, it's really one of the Toyota's best." I said, "Have you ever seen a Tesla app?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Let me show you the Tesla app. Let me turn the air conditioning on at home right now. Let me unlock the boot right now. Let me, he was completely dumbfounded by me showing him this, and he was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." I said, "See, that's something that excites me compared to this app where you show me where you get fuel from and that sort of stuff." I mean, I want to share one other thing. I went to a petrol station today and filled up an old Corolla that my wife's had for a long time, which I've set fire to, put out the front, try to steal it, push over a cliff, put signs on it for free, but it's my wife's favourite car. She won't let me get rid of it. And I put petrol in it because the mechanic said, "Look, it's so old, you best put premium unleaded in it to keep it good." So I do, and I filled it up today, and then I just looked at the Bowser, and it was like $70-something. It was $2.28 a litre.
Yeah.
I went into the petrol. I was ready to go in there, and I see why people are stabbing people, but I was ready to stab the attendant, not people, just the person behind the counter. It was just $2, nearly 30 a litre. Like, I hate going to petrol stations as it is, and now I really hate petrol stations. And yeah, I just couldn't believe it. So that was my little thing.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah.
Do you want to not hate them so much? Don't put premium unleaded fuel in the car unless it's got a compression ratio of 11:1. So you're wasting your money, man.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to go there.
11:1, okay.
Anyway, definitely, I hate petrol stations. Yeah, there you go.
So that David's the reason why why the Tesla has the flat screen, and it will be ubiquitous. Even Mercedes are doing multiple touch screens. They still have lots of buttons and knobs and all that sort of stuff. But the problem is, if you've got a button and a knob, it's only got a single purpose and it can't be reconfigured. Whereas a flat screen can become anything you want. And you could almost imagine, later on with people with mobility issues or other things, bad arthritis, you can imagine. I mean, phones do it now. They have larger buttons, larger font sizes. All this sort of customization can come at the swipe of a software update. And that flexibility you can't find in an ordinary car. And imagine the cost of all those little buttons, all the backlighting, all the wiring that's needed, all the circuit boards and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if you produce one tactile feedback touchscreen, it's all there in one item. And like I said, no one has a Nokia phone anymore. Sadly, I must admit myself,
I do.
I've had all the generations of phones, and I haven't kept them because they cost us thousands of dollars, and you just chuck them out because you don't think you get onto the next shiny object. And some of these things are collector's items,
But the other major benefit is the lack of servicing. There's no cost, there's no maintenance, and they're so reliable. It's often forgotten how much you spend, not only the money, but the time. And they might have it for a week. "Oh, sorry, mate, we couldn't get the parts." Well, we don't suffer any of it. The servicing arrangements alone are worth it.
So my guilty confession is I still have a 3-litre V6 sports car back in the UK, and I look at it as like a horse. There's it's ridiculous and bonkers, and it doesn't make any sense on any sort of financial level whatsoever. But it's just like having a horse, you know. That I'm not going to use it for commuting or anything crazy like that. But it's just, I want to be able to run it on synthetic hydrocarbons made from renewable energy, but of course that's not available for some mad reason. But yeah, I probably wouldn't ever convert it to electric because you're losing that. You know, you wouldn't convert a horse to electric, would you?
I don't. That might be cold crawl. You get more horsepower though.
I think some companies have tried that in the Melbourne Cup in the past.
They have. One other thing I was going to say though that I did see on Twitter today was a patent application from Tesla about self-inflating tires for the semi-trucks, and that made me think that is an absolutely killer product application, whatever you want to call it. That I would love to see that on all Teslas, particularly in Cybertruck as well.
So what's it do, Richard?
Say again.
So, sorry, what does it do? What does it do?
So they're talking about the tires inflating or deflating to whatever pressure they would need to be, presumably whatever cargo you would need. Now that would be incredible to, like, say say that they're going to put it on the Cybertruck as well. If you're literally pulling up the beach and you just go, right, I want to drop down to, I don't know, 12 psi or something, you just press a button and then you're going back onto the road. You press on the screen to say, right, I want 45 psi or whatever.
Some trucks have that though. Some trucks have got that.
I've never heard of it. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that they
some trucks have had it. Well, you know,
Hummer were the first ones to come out of it, I think.
Yeah, they drive on they go off the bitumen, they go onto sand road.
And the new Hummer ED has got that as well built into it, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, Hummers have since they first came out. But I have seen a prime mover as recently as a few days ago, where you could see it's a center feed through the hub.
Yep.
So you've got two air hoses. No,
that's
I
right.
think there's one. Sorry, there's one feed, and then it branches to a Y to the two rear wheels of the prime mover. But maybe Tesla worked out how to do that as an internal system, so you don't see it on the outside. But I think wasn't there also? So go on, Ant. Go, Ant.
Can I just chime in at some point here, just to let everybody know what's going on next week, and also a nice service story.
Yes, sorry, yes, no. So go, Ant. So for those that might not be aware, Ant is the so you're the chair of the WA branch and secretary, actually, because Ant hasn't got enough things to do, so he thought he'd do both at once. Because it's a lot more efficient when you have a meeting with yourself. And he's the secretary and the chair of the WA branch of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association. So shoot, Ant.
Cool.
As in go, sorry.
Hello all that don't know me. I think a fair might do. Yeah, so next week we're going to do something a little bit adventurous. We're going to go and install a DC fast charger, or I guess connect it up and commission it in Ravensthorpe on the way to Esperance.
Brilliant.
It'll initially be throttled back to either 35 or 38 kilowatt because of power supply constraints, but we hope to get it running by the evening of the 4th of March. And Harold is going to be kind enough to tow it down there so that we can get a carbon-free or carbon neutral, at least, tow down to the take this freight down to the charge site. So thank you very much, Harold. And I know that it's going to be a round trip for you, so it's going to be 1,000 k's in a day, but you've done it before, so it's not going to be too much of a hassle, and you're going to ride shotgun with Jace, I believe. So that's going to be great. So looking forward to that, and I hope that opens up Esperance. So we've got Lake Grace, and we've got Esperance, Lake Grace, and we've got Ravensthorpe after this, and that should make Esperance an absolute doddle for
Wow.
even relatively short range cars.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Good work, Ant.
Actually, it's just in the town here. Sorry, it says Ravensthorpe up here, but it's actually just at this junction, which is ideal. And that will basically join. So where this mouse is right here, that will join between Lake Grace and Esperance. So it'll bridge from Perth. You've got, for Teslas, obviously, you've got the Williams supercharger, which is awesome. Straight to Lake Grace, then right here to Ravensthorpe, just where my mouse is right here.
And this was also a crowdfunded campaign. So around 2 years ago, we started, mostly Chris Jones, who's the president of the AVA nationally, started this campaign to put multiple, he was quite ambitious. We were going to put multiple charges on the way to Esperance and in Esperance, but we've succeeded only in putting 2 on the way there by the end of next week. And but that is enough to get us there and to get most people there. It's just branching out more and more. Thank you, Harold. Branching out more and more into the southeast, and will be a good link as well to the Nullarbor gap, which John Edwards is very ably enabling for us. So that's fantastic with his biofuels. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that, because we're not static. We're not waiting for the state government to put in all their charges in the state. We're gonna go ahead, and if they do, and when they do replace Ravensthorpe, that's fine. We'll just pick it up and move it somewhere else.
Yeah, cool.
Where's
Yeah,
that actually
thanks for your
going?
efforts, mate.
Mm.
All of you.
Good work, Ant.
Brilliant work.
Yeah, thanks,
And,
Ant. That's fantastic. And it's a
thanks-
great initiative of the Electric Vehicle Association.
And thanks, Harold, from the Tesla Owners Association, for giving up his time to
Mm,
drive
my
1,000
pleasure.
kilometres there and back to
Absolutely.
the middle of Ravensthorpe, which is another great, tourist destination.
Look, it's an
Yeah, to
absolute
my
pleasure.
mind,
And
it's one of the,
And I
Go
believe
I was just saying, to me, one of the things that I like to emphasize is that we're all in this together, and the organizations that are involved in this are all of us. The Tokwa, Ava, and others have been involved right from the beginning. Tokwa has been absolutely outstanding in terms of supporting us in this. Harold has actually given personal amounts of money, large amounts of money, towards it, and many on this chat have as well. I see a few names, but it's been a great road, and I hope to see many of you on it.
absolutely, here. And, it's an absolute pleasure for every one of the hardworking committee of Tokwa to support this project and to do the best we can to advance EV charging everywhere, because that's where we need it, literally everywhere.
great work. Great work.
Thanks, Anne.
That'd
That's
be
awesome.
fantastic for the run. Where's it actually going in Ravensthorpe?
On the 4th, next Friday.
Because I believe Harold's actually re-roofing Carmen's house on the 3rd, the day before. So he's a pretty busy guy.
I actually gashed. I don't know if you can see, but I gashed my arm on a bit of ragged tin from Carmen's roof. So I've had to postpone that till it all heals up.
Yeah, plastic surgery.
So Anthony, just for a bit of immediate feedback, we were actually thinking of doing another trip to Esperance because we knew this was going in. I saw Chris's great email about it, and it just because going to Esperance before when there was we literally did an AC top up at Williams, arrived into Lake Grace to charge on AC for 4.5 hours. We got there with 2Ks. Going the other way and trying to get a charge at Ravensthorpe on the AC at the petrol station with the thing tripping out, and then getting to Lake Grace again with another 2Ks of range for another 4.5 hour trip on the way back was just it was the one time that it actually really sucked. But yeah, that's just the efforts of you and a lot of people here and not here, just been just making these things so great.
I was making a comment the other day to somebody that Bridie of the Driven has got more
Oh, yeah.
WA content than anywhere else, and I think the reason for that is all of these great campaigns and projects that we're doing. I'm absolutely certain that we're the most active organisations, electric vehicle organisations in Australia, and we do more. We punch above our weight essentially, and you know, we had the first electric highway. We'll have the longest electric highway in Australia by the end of the state government one, and yeah, it's a hell of a long way from those long waits on AAC. And I've done my dues. I've travelled with a Leaf and stopped at 8 fast charging stations, but also in the past stopped at AC charging facilities, including the GPO at the back of a farmhouse. But you know, we've done our dues, but we want to now start getting there faster and yeah, enjoying it on the way. I mean, an hour is enough to have breakfast at Rosie's, which we'll be having on the way to Ravensthorpe this time. And yeah, that's another mention. Rosie's at Ravensthorpe is a great stop. They make a lovely brekker, and I'm looking forward to doing that again. Hopefully,
You mean
I'll be
Rosie's
on
at?
Harold's Way this time.
I think it's Lake Grace where Rosie is, isn't it, rather than Ravensthorpe?
Did I say Ravensthorpe? I meant Lake Grace. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Lake Grace. Yes.
Thank you for fixing that up, Peter.
But
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a fabulous addition to the run. I think that's brilliant.
Absolutely. Now, I just like to bring in the man from the future, because he's already into tomorrow, and I think the world didn't end, so that's a good thing. But Chuck, I think since we're talking about achievements, I've actually just noted quite interestingly that I don't think Tassie has any outstanding or coming soon DC stations. Does that mean that job's been done?
I think it means they're still doing the paperwork and the admin and all the boring things that happen behind the scenes.
They got to build some roads first. Is that what you're saying? Actually,
we're working on it.
Put the tar in and stuff like the.
That's right.
The black stuff.
But it's awesome.
Right into the middle there, where that big lake is, biggish lake, right in the centre.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yep. There's a little road there to the southwest from there. That was sealed like in the last decade. So I think that's the last problem road. But apart from that, we're all good.
Awesome. Wow, you guys got a lot of lakes. Wow, look at that. That is a lot of lakes. You must have a bit of rain down there.
Must be.
Yeah, I think we get. I think we get % of the country's rainfall or something.
That's
So-
awesome.
It's been a long time since I've been to Tasmania, Chuck. Is there a lot of convicts there? Is it mainly a penal colony, or is it?
Hey, Jared, my great grandmother was a transportee to Van Diemen's Land. So hey, just be careful, buddy. There might be a scab I might have to pull off my wound there.
Apples at some one stage.
We send all the troublemakers to Western Australia now, so don't worry about that.
No, you don't. No. We
Why
have
I'm
a
here.
border. You can't get across the border. So.
Now, by the way, Chuck, you're more than welcome to come to WA, but unfortunately the C word's gone a bit berserk, and they might not let you back, mate. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, you might have to tap up the border. See, that reminds me of something that I read on one of the chats or forums recently. Someone wanted to get their car from Perth to Melbourne, and they couldn't drive it across the border. And I said, could they drive it to the border and then smart someone it across and have someone? Would that work?
Been done.
Yes, well,
yeah.
Rob and I, thankfully, Rob's not on. Actually, he's in Margaret River as we speak, so he may or may not be our correspondent and deep throat from Margaret River. But the two of us and John Edwards' son, actually, so there was no pressure. We did try and push him across the demarcation line, but we thought it was funny, but I don't think he did. But we were actually on the wrong side of the border just briefly. But it's okay. We're still here and they haven't found us.
I'm sure it's not measured too precisely out there.
There's no actual white line though, is there, Harold? Is there like a?
No, on the map, it's actually, where we went is actually technically to the east of the line, because there's obviously a vertical north-south running longitude line, sorry, whatever. Longitudinal line. But that was a car park that was in the WA side or in WA control. And what's really interesting is as you drive, and Peter Ship, you've done this, no doubt, and others, as you drive east at the so-called checkpoint, there's a sign that says there is no need to stop. Like, you just keep driving because there are no South Australian police or customs or anything at the border. They actually will pull you over if they want to at roughly Ceduna, which is, I don't know, 1,000 k's east. But of course, when you look down on the other side of the cars coming or the vehicles coming towards you, there is a checkpoint, and they do rats for for everyone basically. Trucks mainly at the moment until the border's fully opened. But yeah, there's a big long queue of trucks or vehicles, and you do have to stop because they are WA police manning that border. And I think possibly beforehand they might have been staying at Border Village, possibly, or Eucla, but now they obviously strictly stay on the Eucla side.
Since you're mentioning the police, I noticed that they're testing Konas. I think they're borrowing Ant's one actually. They're doing some testing of the battery. They gave it a bit of, they're not quite sure. They're just still testing, but obviously they didn't see any Teslas there to test because they wouldn't have made the comments of the range is very short and batteries need to be charged up. And they were the comments they made on the news last night. Which I thought,
did you hear about the comment? Did you hear about the comment, Jared? They're going ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I did. They stole that from Pete.
Yeah.
And Pete's going to sue them for copyright breach. And also they're going to use some SCOTUS, and that Richard Chapman, this will affect you because you could probably tell me because you're up in Pilbara, and I'm pretty sure there's in just about every 100 kilometres there's a Tiguan dealer up there, isn't there? Like if you had a Tiguan, you get it serviced really easily. Because the police have just bought a whole lot of Tiguans and a lot of SCOTUS.
Vehicles properly.
Yeah, so there's a lot of SCOTUS and a lot of Tiguans that the police have bought. So should be no problems getting them serviced in the Pilbara. There you go, another smart move.
Can make anything happen.
Yeah. I thought they were trying to cut that TikTok thing down in Room, but now they're obviously trying to highlight it better with better cars. They are testing. They did say that batteries is the way to go. So, and I don't understand. The police have been using batteries for years. They've been tasering people for at least 5 years. So, surely the battery side of thing, they got that under control. They're cooking people all the time. So, news to me.
I think they should invest in Teslas.
That's exactly.
Not the Jaguar I-Pace like they were talking about last night.
They could mod them to be giant tasers. Like those flamethrower cars in South Africa, the BMWs. They could have Teslas that are tasered, and then they'd buy them in their thousands.
Well, yeah, they're testing.
It's a good angle.
You know how the Rivian has a torch and a Bluetooth speaker that sit in the car and they charge from the car's battery. Police
cool.
With tasers, have little slots in the car to charge.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
All you need.
Exactly. It's just a matter of time.
That's it.
Or a Tesla coil.
So guys, it's getting a bit late for me here, so I'll log off now. I did just want to point out that the Margaret River Charger will be number 50 in the country when it's opened.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
If you want to have a little event for it, you could. That's your claim to fame.
So, how did you know that, Charles? Like you're miles. I thought Pete was ahead of the curve. You're miles ahead of the curve. What are you talking about? You're in Tasmania.
Charles is ahead of the time zone. Yes.
It's already tomorrow in Tassie.
I've had 3 more. I've had 3 more hours to think about it. You see.
Okay.
Do we call Margaret River now Margs 5-0?
Yeah.
That's awesome, Chuck. That's fantastic, and really appreciate you coming on to the program. And you're welcome back every week if you can stand it. But it's awesome, and thank you very much for staying up. That's fantastic, and
Effort.
yeah, stay healthy, and as Pete would say, don't just stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the zone. It's all good.
3 times zone.
Thanks, Chuck. That's awesome. And that's great news too. That's a great achievement of Tesla. 50th supercharger, live supercharger.
One.
Hey,
Fantastic.
That's, you are definitely punching above your weight then, because what is there? I know there's the 15 that because I counted about 15, but they're not superchargers. I mean, some are, but they're not all superchargers, are they?
So, how many superchargers are there in Europe, Harold? Is it 30,000 or 35,000? I couldn't.
No. Because Charles was referring to you're referring to locations, aren't you? Not stalls, but locations. That's the 50th location.
50 locations.
So Europe has it has hundreds and hundreds, literally.
Thousands.
So if you look at Australia, this is according to PlugShare. You can see the map there. That's only superchargers. And great shout out to Tassie at Devonport. That was Australia's first V3 250 kilowatt supercharger, and that's actually a 6-stall supercharger. That's an awesome setup.
Right,
But
It's a 3, that one, 3-stall.
Is it?
Oh, sorry, is it 3? Oh, sorry, Charles.
Yeah.
3.
Is that
Now,
when
if you
you
just
come
go
off
to
the
Europe,
boat?
yes, it's where the ferry is. But this is Europe, but that's not accurate because you have to actually zoom in, and then you actually get more. And as you zoom in, you get even more. So Europe is just, if we just take that size of Europe with all of those superchargers, and we just scroll across, that's the comparison.
Yeah.
So same scale.
You go to Europe again? Yeah, you go up to.
And of course, Norway
How come
Norway
there's
is
none in
distorted.
Belarus, there's none in Belarus.
What about Ukraine?
And Ukraine.
Yeah.
Well, actually, and what's great here is Bunbury, Eaton used to be the world's most remote supercharger on Earth.
But now,
And then Tesla installed a supercharger at, I can't even pronounce that name because I can't even read it, but a city in Kazakhstan. Actually, it might have been the other one. It might have been this one. And what happened was it lost its most remote supercharger status to one of the cities in Kazakhstan until, ironically, it regained it when Tesla installed a second supercharger in Kazakhstan. So then for a number of months, the Eaton supercharger actually regained the world's most remote supercharger status until there was one finally in Perth in Karrinyup, and then 3 weeks later, one in Williams. So that's how the stats can change from day to day. But for many months, for years, the Eaton supercharger was the world's most remote anywhere.
Live soon if the Lancelin one gets up soon.
Yeah, well, Lancelin's in the bag. We know it's the council has approved it. Well, basically twice. They've reaffirmed it in the December minutes, and it's just a matter of time for Tesla to install it. Just for reference, I mean, these things can happen pretty quickly. The Margaret River supercharger, they basically only started installing it less than a week ago, and it's basically functional as we speak. It's just a matter of whether the bunting will be removed to allow people to get proper access to the bays, but they are functioning.
The power supply to the Margaret River one was easy. They didn't have to dig up the car park or anything. They just ran it in conduit across the top and down the wall.
Cable tray.
Yeah, and cable trays, and then a cable tray on the tarmac. So it was a bit easier.
That's right.
The Lancelin would be open by now.
In fact, I'll show you the power supply in about 2 seconds. Let me just show you a couple of inside pool images, but there's nothing copyrighted or anything like that, nothing inappropriate. but
Oh, that's
basically, well, yeah, true. But basically, I'll just make sure I get the correct image because I wouldn't want to show the wrong one. Oh, yeah, and that one there. So as we speak, and I just got to take 2 seconds to take this to my computer. I'll do that and upload.
I'll jump
And
off
by the
now.
magic of the interwebs.
I'll see you guys next time.
Tuck, I won't keep you up too much longer, but it's nearly gone. See you, mate. Take care, mate. You can always watch it on YouTube.
See you, John. Take care. All the best.
Okay, so we've got these images coming up. Right.
Is that Damon? Damon, how you going? Hey, it's Mr. Burnt Orange. I'm wearing his shirt tonight for him. Damon's here. Holy moly.
Geez, I didn't. He lives. He
He's
lives.
out of Adelaide. He's not in Adelaide anymore.
And actually, let's just spotlight him for a moment.
Oh,
Notice how he had to deliberately Photoshop that car to make it look tomato red, and we know it's a lie. That is not true. That is just a fiction. Damon, that is absolutely slanderous to the true colour of your car, which I'll prove shortly once I can prepare myself. So getting back to the Margaret River Supercharger, so this is actually the power source for it, and it goes something like this once the interwebs loads, and I'll check that that's okay, and that one. Sorry, the interwebs are going slowly at the moment. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. So this is inside the plant room. So they are, I think they are 2 1 megawatt transformers that are in the building. So that was a handy power source. Just through some double doors. And that's the setup as we've seen it. And the reason why there's bunting is because these cables are not yet completely covered up. So that's basically the reason why it's not yet officially open, is you've got this sort of interesting bend which they'll have to cover in some way. And also up here you can see, I think I've got another better image of that, which is here. Actually that's upside down, so let me just spin that around so it makes more sense. That's looking down at the back of the main DC cabinet, and I just need to put some trunking over that just to protect that cable from, well, people or whatever. Protect it from being, damaged or whatever. So that's basically the prime reason why the supercharger site isn't quite yet completely accessible, but it's super
Oh, they've got
close.
some desktops there too. Oh, that's good.
So say again, Ant?
Oh, they've got some destos there too, which is
Yes, they have,
good.
and these are the version 3 destination chargers,
Ooh.
which are absolutely capable of charging all EVs if Tesla chooses to do so, which it ought to, clearly, and I think will.
So, and
provide.
you need to take your Kona down over the weekend and see if they'll charge it.
Sure. I've actually tested it. I've tested a V3 before with the Kona, and it works absolutely fine. But let's see if these ones do too. So you're right. Off to Margs. Anybody want some chocolate?
I've already eaten as much as I can today, Ant. Thank you very much. No, not really, but yeah, Margs is a great spot. Great spot. And of course, Ant, as you know, there is the 50 kilowatt charger available, the RAC charger, if you need to use it just in case it doesn't work, which I'm just going to highlight momentarily. In Margaret River, it's always risky doing this live, but I think it's actually here at the Wallcliff Road parking lot. So that's the new Tritium fast DC charger. That's a 50 kilowatt charger.
Nice.
And that does work, just in case. So there you go.
And can I just jump in for a sec?
Yes, Andrew, go. Yeah, shoot.
Really good news, and with the Ravensthorpe, because I've literally just the last couple of nights been doing some research. We're planning on a trip to Esperance on the Monday of the long weekend. So heading down there on the Monday, the 7th. So fantastic news to know that Ravensthorpe was in. I just thought I'd ask, and I did watch the TOCWA video that a few of you did together from about middle of last year, I think, when you were talking about all the charges going in and the trip to Esperance, etc. And obviously a bit of that's outdated now, so it's good to know this. But I just wanted, is there any other pinch points to be aware of? We'll be leaving from Mandurah, so we'll go through Boddington, I think, and out to Williams, recharge, and then onto Lake Grace and recharge, then onto Ravensthorpe. So it's a pretty clear run really for us. But is there anything else to be concerned about? And do we need any plugs or anything? Because we've got the Model 3.
The standard range.
Well, when you get to Esperance, there's the Horizon Power one there, which you'll probably need there, which is very handy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Because the one in
also
town
the-
that's listed
there's
as
also
three-phase, that's closed now.
Yeah, there's also an AC charger at the RAC Esperance Holiday Park.
Oh yeah.
Full disclaimer: I work for the RAC. That's my day job. But the one at the Horizon site is a little bit, I guess, isolated from town. I would really go and make sure you charge up at your accommodation. They also have a Testo at the Comfort Inn, I believe. In fact, that's where I charged when I was there last, at the Comfort Inn, and they're very agreeable to parking, and I think they'll charge you $10 to park and charge overnight, which I've done. And there's another few around Esperance. Yeah. So
and just very quickly, there are actually two high power wall connectors at the Comfort Inn. There's one near the laundry, which you just got to be aware of, that they need access to the laundry, which I think is just there, and that's on one side of the wing. And then there's another one. I think it's
next to that ice truck.
It might be that. Yes, next to that. Yeah. That's the front. That's where the restaurant area is, and it's just across here. I think it's a little bit off frame, other side of that wall. Yeah. So,
and I noticed in the video that you mentioned plug share, and is that still a really good way to go in terms of knowing what's where?
Yes, absolutely. So what you need to do, Andrew, is obviously get plug share on your phone.
I've done that.
But you need to set your filters appropriately. So, for instance, on the computer, the filters are just up here, but on your phone, it actually looks like a funnel. So they're sort of stylistically making it look like a chemistry sort of filter, paper filter. So it's that image just there. It looks like a funnel. So with that, what you do is you need to set now with your car with no adapters, no cables, nothing. You need to set Tesla Fast, CCS, and Tesla. So Tesla Fast are superchargers, CCS are non-Tesla fast DC chargers, and Tesla are the Tesla destination chargers. So if we just did that and we zoom out, these are all the places you can charge your car with no adapters whatsoever. And we'll just let them refresh. So go on, Ant.
Can I add that probably the best direction to take if you're in a standard range, I'm not sure if you're a standard range or long range, is via Williams. It's a little bit longer, but you'll get the supercharger there, and then you'll go to Lake Grace, and then you'll go to Ravensthorpe, and you'll have DC fast charging all the way. If you go the other way, via Brookton and then down to Lake Grace, one of the other issues there is that you'll face generally a very, very strong headwind, and you'll, as I found in the Kona, I rolled in with the Kona to Lake Grace with 3 Ks to spare. On the Golf, it doesn't scare me too much, but the headwind really played havoc with the range, and I got only 300 46 k's out of the Kona. One other thing I must mention is that if you can, for the ChargeFox chargers, which is pretty much all of them apart from the supercharger, do see if you can get an RFID card connected to your ChargeFox. Don't rely on the app, because in places like Ravensthorpe or Lake Grace, you might not get reception, and certainly in between, you'll have issues getting reception, even with Telstra. I battled between Wickerpin and I forget one of the other, blink and you miss it towns.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to consider, because if you've got the RFID card, doesn't matter if there's no reception, you'll be able to charge.
What do you mean by RFID card?
So anybody got one on them?
I've got one. A hard card, like a credit card.
Oh, just a credit card.
Yeah, it's a hard card. It's a special card by Charge.
It's a special card that they issue.
From ChargeFox.
Oh, and is that from ChargeFox itself?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
okay.
if you are,
I don't know if you can see that, Mark.
There you
Yeah.
go, Nigel.
Perfect. Thanks,
Alex.
Ripper.
Yeah,
Okay.
It comes up a little key code thing.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. Well, we're members with them, so we'll get that as well. That's great. Thank you.
And it's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's the same day we go, Andrew. We might
Sorry?
see on, I think that's the same day that we go down there, so we may see you at some of the charge points.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean,
So-
and I haven't actually been to any events that you guys have held yet, so I'm keen to bump into some of you at some point.
Just quickly, Andrew, if you run out of time and you haven't got enough time for them to post you an RFID card, if
Yeah.
you do have a standard MyFair type RFID card and you do know its number, you can log on to the ChargeFox account and enter that number in and use any MyFair compatible card, provided you know its serial number. So, for example, if you have an Android phone, I believe you can download an RFID identifier app, and it will identify the RFID number, serial number of a card. Then you can
Right.
log on to but if you have an iPhone, sadly you can't do that because Apple locked down their ecosystem. But if you either have an Android or you know someone that does, they could identify the card number for you, and you could log into your ChargeFox account and add it to the account and use that as the token. It doesn't have to be ChargeFox's actual card. It can just be any MyFair card whose
Yep.
serial number you know.
No. Okay.
And that actually
MyFair card? What's the
it's basically
Give us an example.
it's now your transport card, your Smart Rider. So if you've got a Smart Rider,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
you can actually use a Smart Rider, but you just need to get
Okay.
someone to read it for you to tell you what the serial number is.
Ah,
And like I said, if you know someone, if you have an Android or you know someone with an Android, apparently they can do it. If you're stuck in the Apple ecosystem, I think actually you can also get a MyFair card number off a credit card, for example, but that might not. Well, I haven't tried it personally, so you're safer to use like a transport card or something
Last
like
resort,
that.
use Harold's
Yeah.
credit card.
Yeah, like everyone else does.
So well, I haven't got enough copies of those printed yet. So that's what you can do, Andrew, if you think you're going to run out of time, because the post is a bit slow, and it's only a couple of weeks away. Well, actually, so it's a couple of weeks.
I'm more than willing to help you. Just reach out to myself or anybody here really who knows how to do it. Because
Okay, thanks,
I have linked it up, but it's otherwise just contact ChargeFox and ask them to send you one. Shouldn't take too long, a few days.
Yeah, great. Excellent.
And
Great.
by the way, Andrew, what you can do is you can send an email to secretary@tokwa.org.au, and I can pass that through to Ant, or you can ring Tokwa on their new helpline, which is 6262 3131. So I'll just
Okay.
put that in the chat. So that's 6262 3131.
Is
And
that
then-
still going to Germany, Harold? That line? Still doing?
Well,
that?
it is, but it's going.
Oh, there it is there. Pete's ringing it. Pete, tell Pete. There's always got to be
Pete.
one.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I know.
So it does work.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it's a I won't call it a 24/7 helpline, please. Do try and keep it to what do you call it? Yeah, that's right. But you know, if you're just watching one of our latest episodes that go for 3.5 hours, and you happen to just be about to fall asleep and you can't quite get to sleep, just call me and I'll do my best to help you out.
Yeah, sing us a
I
song.
just finished last week's episode earlier today, so yeah, half-hour
Wow, Damon,
segments,
and how many half-hour slots did that take?
about 10.
What did you have? Right, so that's 5 hours, and it was only for 3.5. So did you have to play some of it back? Were the bits you didn't understand there, Damon?
Speechless.
Sometimes we are too, but not very often.
I've got a question that I wanted to ask. This is fairly mundane, but I don't seem to be able to connect Helen's Model 3 to Wi-Fi, and it doesn't really matter how I adjust the proximity of the car to the actual Wi-Fi, or if I try to use my iPhone as a personal hotspot, we just can't even find the networks on the system.
Okay, so there's one thing I do know that Teslas aren't good at, because it's a US-based car. I think it's channel 13. I forget which band that is, whether it's 2.4 gig or it must be 2.4 gig. I do know that sometimes modems will pick that, because in Australia that's a permissible, totally valid band. But in the US, it's denoted, if you look on Wikipedia, it's denoted as the ultra short or something. It's intended for very short distances in certain specific applications, and it's excluded for except for particular use cases. And Tesla's Wi-Fi chip or subsystem specifically will not listen in on channel 13. So there's a slight possibility that your modem has, for local reasons, picked channel 13, which it's entitled to do in Australia, and the car will be completely deaf to it. It will not respond whatsoever. And that can sometimes happen from time to time if your modem's set to automatic channel selection.
Right.
So that's one possibility. But absolutely, if you have an iPhone or an Android and you open up a hotspot from your phone, that should be visible in Helen's car. So you just press on I'll just bring up this little simulator, and what you do is you press, sorry, 2 seconds, I just got to undo that. You press on the LTE symbol of your car. Let me just try this one more time. Okay, I'm going to have to do it the hard way. Sorry about this. I'll just do it this way. You go into the LTE. This menu is slightly different. That's not going to do it. Sorry, just speak amongst yourselves for a moment. But basically, when you actually, I'll just describe it. See this symbol here, which you'll find. I think it's now actually in a sub menu that you've got to press this button, and you'll see this little arrow, and you'll see it come up on a secondary screen. But this symbol here, and I've got it. Yeah, just talk amongst yourselves. I'll try and sort this thing out. It's just that my PowerPoint is putting its presenter view on the wrong screen, and I can't share it properly. But basically, so you should be able to show the local hotspots. So you should see other Wi-Fi's, and if it's just that yours isn't listed, then just try and liven up your phone as a hotspot and see if that becomes visible on that list. And if
Yeah,
it
I've done
does,
that, and no, it doesn't become visible. So I'm not able to find the hotspot, and I'm not able to find Helen's Wi-Fi.
are you able to find any other Wi-Fi
Yeah,
locations?
there's a couple. There are a couple of neighbouring properties that show up, but only 2.
It might be that
Which
it's
is strange.
WEP or WPA2 or some other your home Wi-Fi setup has got some other protocol than normal, and therefore it can't see it, or the SSI, or it's hidden, and therefore your car can't see the SSID, the name of the station of the Wi-Fi station.
Okay. All right. I'll have a
Whereabouts
look.
are you, Kevin?
Because I've gone through the manual, and that doesn't shed any light on. So it's a bit of a mystery as to why it wouldn't actually show up.
Nobody reads the manual, Kevin.
Yeah, it is. That's right. I've done the RTFM thing.
How about if somebody else comes buying a car, another Model 3, and see if they can pick up your Wi-Fi, and then you can eliminate the car.
Yeah, as an issue. Yeah.
But if it is the car issue, or if all else fails, then just use the app and log in a appointment, and you'll get a mobile service guy. You'll probably get Ben to come out, and he'll help you out.
All right, that sounds good. That's good. Thank you.
Speaking of service guys, I had a really great an experience just yesterday. Actually, it was this morning. On the weekend, we took a little bit of a drive because I was testing out these new ePrimacy tires that I've put on the car.
Oh, cool.
And I've calculated that it's got about a 5% efficiency improvement, which is really, really good. Just as grippy as Primacy 4s, but or Pilot Sport 4s, but they're really, really nice tires, available down at Jack's for $274, or I think it was anyway when I picked them up. But anyway, as we pulling into our own road on the way home, I suddenly heard this noise that sounded like a rodent had got stuck in the car somewhere, and it was squeaking every time it went over a bump, squeaking if you turned the steering wheel at low speeds. Turns out there's a control arm, and the joint of the control arm squeaks, particularly on a 2019 Model 3 like we've got. Anyway, took it into Tesla. Quick squirt around the block. And the guy said, "Yeah, okay, we'll replace that." Now, as some people know, I've got a car which has done quite a lot of Ks, done 107,000 Ks last count. So it's out of limited warranty. But the guy there just said, well, in fact, Harry initially said, don't worry about it. It's on goodwill. And so that is just another example of why the Tesla service is really exemplary. That they treat you really well. There's none of this nonsense that I've got out of Nissan, which is the worst, and Hyundai, which isn't much better with the Kona, and and they have an app that works. But so that was a great service experience I've had. What are these, Harold?
Oh, sorry, no, I've just put that up. Sorry, it went up a bit earlier than I was I meant to. But speaking of tires and a good experience with Tesla, so you might be able to see a screw that I picked up there. So I took it, and I took it to just the tire place, and they said to me, because it's closer than 3 fingers from the wall, there's nothing they can do, and I'll have to buy 2 new tires. And I said, why 2 new tires? And they said, well, you don't want to be lopsided. You don't want to have one worn and one new. So they were sort of talking about $750. So I went to Tesla. They had a look at it, and they said, yeah, I think we can do something with that. $80 later, and I'm back on the road.
So they just put a plug in, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So, but the tire place was saying they can't plug it because it's too. And I mean, they were saying the width of 3 fingers, but I was thinking, you take the width of 3 fingers from both sides, doesn't leave much in the middle of the tire that you can
Yeah.
actually do something with.
What happens if they use Harold's fingers? That's like, show him your fingers, Harold.
He's just got short fingers.
That's the
I think I'm about to have the wee taken out of me, but don't say I've got a disability because and as Nigel Farrier will explain, and this is absolutely true, I let down the Yakuza, and they actually make you cut your own pinky off because a pinky completes the grip of your sword. And I had this sword fight over some petrol at a petrol station a couple of weeks ago, and I got slashed on the arm because I wasn't able to defend myself properly with my sword. So,
Harold, I thought
Don't have the ABC on when you're sword fighting. Is that what you mean?
well,
I thought your plastic surgery was making you new credit cards for all of us.
Well,
that was another accident.
I was snipping the edge of the cards, and I cut my finger off by accident. Sorry, so go, Ant.
Yeah, I was going to say that is actually, and this is a true story, there's an initiation rite amongst the Xhosa people, but of the Mpondo tribe in eastern South Africa, where the last segment of the little finger is chopped off as part of your initiation, and that happens when you're 13. So yeah, you know an honorary.
Well, I didn't want to admit that I'm actually albino, and I actually am from that region of Africa. But I didn't want to brag because So as a new Australian, I'm grateful that Australia has given me all the wealth of this country.
African American company, right?
So
Absolutely. Now in the theme of Pete's tire, I can actually, since we're having a tire off, I can actually show you my tire, which had a lovely tech screw in it, quite a juicy one.
Ooh.
And this was my solution, which was just to put an unvulcanized slug into that tire. And I can state that I've taken that tire to Eucla and back, towing rather heavy objects in the car, and it's been perfectly safe. But that's a personal thing I've done. I don't recommend anyone does that. It should only be a temporary repair until you can fix it. Just temporary, yeah.
I just bought one at Super Cheap the other day, just in case something like that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do have one of those kits available for loan for people on road trips. That's another benefit of being a club member, is we've got one of those tyre repair kits for emergency purposes.
Story as well.
Andrew could use the lead, maybe take a lead with him, the Type 2. Was that we was talking about before, charging lead?
Yeah, if I need to. I mean, now that I've done that plug share, it looks like I've got good coverage all the way there.
You're a paid-up member with the club, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, then you're entitled to the lead, the tyre, the brick that you take. We've got a new brick.
Yeah.
And if there's a car parked, an ice car parked in the bay, you throw the brick through the window.
Right. Excellent.
And the other thing is you get Harold's credit card as well. It's all part of the club.
Perfect. Is there anybody that wants to come with me just to help me change a tyre if I need to?
Alex lives in Mandurah. That's probably where the first part of your trouble is going to start on your trip.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Probably the first 10 kilometres will be Mandurah. Then once you're out of Mandurah, you'll probably be all right.
Now we're down in Dawesville, and I tell you what, there's plenty of ice cars leaving a fair bit of tyre on the roads down here.
I've got a tyre story as well. So I recently changed the two front tyres of the Model X. They've been on for 2 years, only 20,000 kilometres. Now the centre and the inside tyre was perfectly fine, a lot of meat, but that very outside edge on the front, worn from possibly roundabouts. I've had a wheel alignment done and tyres rotated. It must be from just going around roundabouts. But anyway, so that's one part of the story, is excessive wear on the very outside of the front tyres of the Model X. Now, I've been running at normal suspension height. The airbags, there's 5 different levels. I've been going normal. And then the second part of it is that the big cost difference between the exact same tyres for different
They tend to spin a lot. Must be, I know.
if you've got matching front and back,
Look
going
out,
front to
people, he's
is
back.
good. Going from front to back is good, but left to right, it actually ends up making the rubber flex the opposite direction because it's running the opposite way. So it actually wears out faster by rotating left to right than front to back.
Well, on the Model 3s, you can only do it front to back because they've got a direction of travel.
Yeah.
Sorry, people. We had an outage, which is going to cause me a bit of work. Damon, sincere apologies, but for the benefit of people like yourself that would watch us in half-hour slots, you got to because this has been recorded locally on my computer. You got to the bit where you said, well, actually the start of about your tire, where it had uneven wear on the outside. So sorry, can you just please very quickly for those YouTubers who are important, please just repeat what you said because none of that's been recorded.
Okay, so I had done about 20,000 kilometers. I rotated the tires about 10,000 kilometers, and the very outside of the tires worn right on the very shoulder. The middle and the inside were perfectly fine with the suspension airbags at normal. Running tire pressure is about 48 psi cold inflated, which then once they warm up, they go over 50 psi. But yeah, very worn on the very edge shoulder. All I can say is that possibly just roundabout where, since we actually live 20 meters from a roundabout, actually in my background there, you can actually see the roundabout.
It's a Model X problem, I think everyone.
Yes, you can. Actually, and it is, and the suspension settings aren't ideal. And you'll actually also find, and this is a pro tip for anyone that's got a Model X or a Model S with air suspension, do check, in the case of the rears, check the inside. Unlike Damon describing the outside of your front tires, if you've got a Model X or an S, do check the inside for tire wear. Because my wife's Model S, who's driven from a lady that drives her car carefully, her inside of her tire tread was at the canvas, well, not canvas, the steel belts, because it's a silent issue that you can't notice unless you really look closely, and it's something you wouldn't think would happen, but it was. Her tires were worn to the belts, and we didn't know. So obviously changed them very quickly.
Especially you old guys, you get it checked out straight away.
So when I got these tires changed over, the time mob said that ideally to circumvent this problem is to actually give it a bit of toe out. But who knows how much toe out to give.
Sandy Munro, a great thing about his videos where he's torn down the plaid Model S, and this will also apply to the non-plaid S and obviously the plaid and non-plaid new X's coming out next year in Australia, is that they actually have, I forget what it's called, it's camber, or I forget the suspension, the wheel alignment term, but they have a specific adjustable. Sorry, Richard, what was that kit you tried and that you broke it?
Yeah, look, Jack's Konana did try and help, and it was actually a guy that was there that has now left. Like, it was best intentions, but my God, I wasted probably cost me $3,000.
Yeah. So what was it? What were they fixing?
So it was. So it was. I think the kit was K-Max. So and it was a mob over on the East Coast. So they had a kit start over. What they were trying to do was basically. Yeah, mean then adjust the offset on the swing arm, So then you could actually adjust the camber because just when their infinite wisdom has the negative 2 degree camber, which is great if you're on a racetrack and not if you're literally doing anything else. The what? Sorry.
Like the upper control arm?
Yeah, upper control arm is a fixed negative 2 degrees of camber, which is worse, which is made even worse when you select, if you've got air suspension, you select low air suspension. It makes it even crazier. So, but had I known, I probably would have. There's another kit that you can get where from the States where the adjustments actually it's kind of like a replacement upper control arm, and the adjustments actually within the rather than an offset bolt that's on top of it. Because what happened is they kept fitting it and it kept collapsing, and then they kept fitting a new one, and it just in the end I just fessed up and went back to Tesla and just said, look, I've done this, and they all laughed and said we've all done stupider things in the quest for perfection, and we're really good about it and fixed it. But had I known, I would have gone for this other kit and then dialed it back to maybe negative 1 degree camber at the most. That probably would have been fine. But yeah, I do. Is it Bob Janes in Claremont? He sets the toe out, and that's how I get to do it. And I run my tires at. I've been running my tires at 50 psi cold, but I might actually back it back to 45. It's just quite a harsh ride.
Richard, did you say you got your tires done at Bob James? Because I was quite flabbergasted before I changed my tires. I called around a bit, and Bob James in Balcatta, I called them up and I said, I've got this car, and what prices do you have on the tires, and when do you have availability? And they said, we don't do Teslas.
Oh yeah, no, he's done loads.
Okay, that's probably the individual franchisee who's got something against quiet cars.
Probably. No, oh geez, I can't remember the guy's name there. It will come to me. Scott, I think, actually. No, it's definitely Bob James. Yeah, he's great. The one in Claremont. Always helpful. He's been great. Highly recommend.
I'm sorry, I look a bit distracted because that's what I am. But I've actually just found it. Here we go. This is the new link they've got in the Plaid. I'll just take it off mute.
They use kind of like just kind of a side note, looking at this toe link, they use kind of like a turnbuckle or jam nut style, similar to what you'd see on a tie rod for a steering system for their adjustment. So that's great from an installation perspective because...
So happily in future Model S's and X's, that problem has now been solved because you can adjust your suspension to anything that's required. So that's something that Richard, you tried to do, but this is now the definitive solution. So and that's a great thing because Tesla is iterating, and I guess they did what was trending in its time, but now they've realised that you need adjustment.
And and I think it is a safety issue because all of us that have got this issue have at some point realised we were down to the belts on the inside, and you look at the tyres and they look great, and you're like, wow, I've got tens of thousands of Ks left on this, and you don't. Like we did a day on the track at the RAC place up there, and I thought I was running on great tyres, and I later found out that I wasn't. I was hooning around there at 110 Ks an hour max speed, and I was down to the belts, and I couldn't see it.
I actually was driving down the freeway, Kwinana Freeway, going north towards the Narrows, and that's very smooth. It's fairly new tarmac, and you know how sometimes your brain, you sort of know something's not quite right, but you kind of just ignore it. And at a certain speed, I could feel this bump. It was like a little ba-dump, 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 ba-dump. My tyre had actually gotten a bulge
You got an aneurysm.
Yes, it got it had an aneurysm because the belts had gone. They had been cut by the road, and it had this bump. And strangely so, or well, ironically, or well, I don't know how you describe it. 1 week earlier, I had taken the Tokwa 50 kilowatt tritium fast DC charger on the back of my shark fin to Geraldton, and then I'd driven back doing 100 k's an hour with 165 kilos of charger on the back of my car, and a week later I was going down the freeway with a tire that had an aneurysm.
You only have an explosive decompression. That's all.
Well, yeah. Do you know,
Exactly.
I know you guys. You've actually met them, I think. The three guys that do Talking Tesla in the States. What's
Yes.
the guy? The two doctors and
Robert Rosenblum, Mel Herbert, who's Australian, and Robert. Forget his surname, but Robert, Mel, and
they've got Joel in there as well now. Yeah.
No, they got Joel.
Mel,
Yes.
So Mel had an anecdote because he's had or had an ex, and they've got Kenyans that are friends and have become kind of family to them, who were staying with them, and the same thing happened on his. I don't know if you heard that episode. And
No.
the Kenyan guy was saying, "Oh, make your tires down to the tread," because that happens in Kenya all the time. And Mel's like, "What? This is a $120,000 car. Of course that can't happen." And the guy was completely right.
Yes. So that's a little note for everyone. I mean, Model 3s clearly don't suffer from this, but if you've got an S or an X, just look at both sides of your tread. Don't just look at the stuff you can see, as Damon was doing with his car on the outside of the front. Everyone sees that, but on the backs in particular, and everyone sees the outside of the backs. It's easy to see. Have a just once every few months, just have a quick look, just in case there's a surprise.
Yeah.
I've actually noticed that tyre guys, but when you pull into the garage, the first thing they'll do is actually put their hand through there and just feel for the tread. And so I've started doing that now just to get a bit of muscle memory into what I'm gonna, feeling for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apologies for that loss of transmission. What that's going to cause me to do is have to join two videos together, which is a real pain, but especially when they're hours long. But so unfortunately, our video will be out a bit later tomorrow.
Well, when you weren't here, we were talking lots of juicy stuff, so it's all good.
That's right. It's a little bit like when we have to pause. See, Damon. Actually, we are going to deliberately pause a little bit later on, so you get to see the stuff that you don't get to see on YouTube. So, and even our Patreon supporters don't get to see these juicy bits that are unrecorded. So we'll go to that shortly. So do stay with us, and you'll see what you've missed out on.
So is there?
Sorry, go, Carmen.
Sorry.
Go, Carmen.
My sister is traveling in Europe, and she was going to buy a car in Spain for a while. And you're not allowed to have diesel anymore in the cities.
Correct.
Is that coming here?
No.
Yeah,
Not
about
anytime.
50 years.
Not soon.
When we catch up with the rest of the world, yeah.
Another 25
So
years.
that's awesome. So is that just in Barcelona, or is that in all of the major cities?
Well, no, it was in all the cities, Madrid, and she's at the moment in a place called Cartagena, which is near Granada.
I think the cities that are implementing that are around 20 or 25% at least percentage of electric vehicles. You really can't consider it before it gets to that odd percentage. And then that actually pushes adoption of electric vehicles well up over 50+% once that they start talking about it.
It did say they're banning ICE cars after 2030. So
Yeah. Well, she was told to buy a gas and petrol.
hybrid,
Yes.
petrol and battery.
petrol.
No, petrol and gas.
Oh, gas. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
So
Sorry,
she didn't know
LPG.
much about it.
Speaking about fuel and that, did you see the news tonight? They actually have a chuckle. They said that it's all-time high for petrol prices in Perth. So I just laugh when it's all-time high for petrol prices. They were showing at $2.07 or something like that for just normal.
$2.28 for premium. $2.28.
Crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's stupid.
I haven't been to a service station since I bought the Tesla. So
Yeah. It's a nice feeling. Trust me.
It's
not
excellent.
nice. It's not nice to go to a petrol station at the moment. It's it's like going to
I did that a few days ago, and because it was in a i20, I colloquially call it a wedgie car because it's a high undie. And it's a manual car, deliberately bought so I could teach my kids how to drive. And I've got one kid left. And apart from the fact that, actually, there was a lady that I was talking to that had a ride in my car, and I was showing her the fast DC charger, and I was explaining how you unplug it from the charger and plug it into your car. And she goes, "Oh, wow," because that's something she had no idea how to do. And she thought that might be an issue for EV owners in the future, to learn this sort of thing. And then I sort of said, well, yes and no, because, of course, none of us can unlearn how you fill a petrol car, because as kids, we've observed it and seen it and done it. But then having said that, I had to tell her a story with my kid where I took him to the petrol station a few weeks ago for the first time to fill up the car with petrol, and I showed him how to do it. Or at least I told him, you just poke it in and you pull the trigger, and it clicks off, and you do a couple of clicks, and then you put it back into the Bowser. So, of course, he's holding the nozzle. I don't think I have. He's sort of holding the nozzle in, and then he sort of just like pulls it out, and just sort of goes just like arcs around to put it into the holster, and of course, there's just this stream of petrol that's in the nozzle, just pouring on the driveway. Just missed my feet by a couple of inches, and I thought, but I mean, for him it was a learning experience because he'd never done it before, and he did it the complete wrong way, and of course he'll never do it again, incorrectly, hopefully. But yeah, it just goes to show a lot of people that are unfamiliar with EVs, they think it's really a difficult task, but you only have to see it done once, and then you know it. But it just goes to show, even the most mundane petrol refilling, if you've only done it for the first time, you'll do it incorrectly.
Yeah.
Is this a case for a battery electric car with gears, so that people can get driving licenses?
Have you seen that?
Which brand? Who was that? Ford that patented that, or was it one of the other?
Yeah.
Or was it one of the other ones?
Yeah. Tell everyone all about it. Go on.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, well, basically, they can simulate in the car with the gear stick and gear changing, and they drop the torque and they increase the torque.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just like it's a
Well,
bloody
that's
gas.
a good point. I mean, if you, yeah.
What the?
I think
Can they-
service department going or something.
Can they make it simulate like a stall if you don't do it properly, and it stalls and just doesn't
No,
go
but
anywhere? And
if you don't do it really right, you open the boot and it's full of horse shit. This is taking you back to those days.
The guy that installed my charger showed me how to do it. So it was, I assume that's what they do.
So I've got some SpaceX news that no one's talking about. It's actually a warning, and I'll probably bring it up now before we lose the people too, because people can get caught out with this. So there's a whole bunch of fake SpaceX channels that are particularly not verified on YouTube in particular. What they're doing, they're scamming people for millions and millions of dollars. Well, potentially, if they fall for it. So what's happening is they're replaying past SpaceX launches and conferences and all this, and they're overlaying it into their overlay, and it's like donate Bitcoin or Ethereum to us and we'll give you this double back. Do not fall for this. They are fake, scamming. Just so everyone is completely aware, you will never get your money back. Your cryptocurrency, it's gone if you send it off, right? Now, they're making this look completely like it's the official SpaceX channel, overlays and everything. They've got Elon Musk on there doing a conference call, but they've got their overlay with the donate or send us Bitcoin and we'll double it. Don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's quite a few YouTube channels that actually do things like rebroadcast. So they even have supposedly live, like they go YouTube live and have stuff that you might think is live, but it's just pre-recorded stuff. And it's, yeah, you're right. The internet is a very nasty thing. Now, speaking of internet, what everyone should do is, and I'll just use our Facebook page as a template, is go to tokwa.org.au. That is our official webpage. Or Twitter handle is Tesla_WA or at Tesla_WA.
And there's a red Model X up the back there. It's not burnt orange.
It took a fair bit of effort. Notice, actually, I did there. Actually,
No, that's flare coming off the tent, off the marquee. That's the red flare.
That's not actually true there, Damon, because see this car here. This is a red car, and that is not red. This is red. That's not red. This is red. That's
my
not
red's
red.
the same as the Tokwa tent.
Yeah, but that was the special edition burnt orange Tokwa tent that we had to color correct to make it look red. And just in case anyone has any doubts as to the color of your car, Damon, I'm going to very shortly demonstrate that it is actually burnt orange. And as you've seen on many videos that you've watched in half-hour slots, Damon, it is true that the ABC knows that your
But they
car.
can't color correct the
No, they
images
can.
correctly.
They are the national broadcaster of.
They've got color balancing equipment.
They have. It's professional.
They're still
And,
waiting for donations.
Here it is, right here, and I can tell you now that is the true color of your car, because this is the true color of this lady's skin and this gentleman's skin, and the grass is green, and the branches are brown, and the leaves are green. And your car is very, very burnt orange. If it's that is so burnt, it's beyond repute. And this is the national broadcaster live on TV. This is your ABC, which you've paid 8 cents for 8 cents per year to demonstrate your car.
And you got your money's worth.
Burnt
there.
orange. So you heard it first.
Hey, Damon, you've got a golden opportunity now just to grab the camera live, take it over to your car, and disprove him and shut him up for once and for all, and show us all that your car's not burnt orange.
But he can't, because he's gonna put a burnt orange filter on his phone, and you go to Alibaba and you search burnt orange filter, and it will happen. So
He's done it already.
look, Damon went to a lot of effort to have to color correct that in Lightroom or in Adobe Photoshop to get it correct.
It's very fashionable at the moment, Damon, to have orange.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, can you tell me what Starlink is? Everyone seems to be talking about it.
Oh, yes. So I think we've got an image. It's basically a, well, Starlink, there's a very good website, and I'm going to bring it up in 2 seconds.
We've been talking about Starlink for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you've been in these meetings. I'm going to make you
I
accountable
know, but
now.
I didn't know what it was.
Oh, you do know what it was. You know exactly what it is.
It's not the CCTV cameras, is it?
No.
No. So Starlink. See, this is a map of the world. Well, I'll just try and reverse. All these little blue dots you can see are roughly 1,500 satellites that SpaceX, or one of Elon Musk's companies, has put into orbit around the Earth. And for example, this is just a simulator. Was actually live data, and this is my dish right here in Perth.
It's big.
And it's talking to this satellite right there, going down to the Wagen ground station.
Yeah, show your balls, Harold. Show those balls that you've seen them.
Oh
before.
yes. Sorry, let me just reset this. We did tweet out some shiny balls that SpaceX has, because they have the shiniest of white balls in
And
Wagen.
Somebody had to peep over a fence like a peeping Tom to get a photo. Just to look at some shiny
Did
balls.
you have to stand on the top of your Model X?
Yes, I did. Damon, you had. Did I tell you that? I think I did. You've heard that.
I watched it on Ask
before.
Us Anything.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the real information. Forget the ABC, because although they're good at color correcting, we're good at the real news that matters. And what matters is the fact that I had to stand on my own Model X's roof carefully and take the photos of the shiny white balls at Wagen. And I'll
Was that communication system?
find them. So what that is? Yep. So what?
Talking for Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So the Wi-Fi comes from the Starlink modem router. But what Starlink is it's a whole lot of low Earth orbiting satellites. You basically put up what looks similar to a Foxtel dish, basically, very similar, except this one's motorized. And look, the thing is, if you live in Perth and you have the NBN nearby, or you've got either fiber to the premise, or you've got fiber to the node where you've got, a good internet performance, then Starlink doesn't make as much sense in a capital city as it does if you're in a remote area or a remote town. But I mean, obviously a few of us early adopters have gotten it so we can see what it's like, experiment with it. I've put mine on the back of a car, and yeah, see, that's photoshopped. That's photoshopped, Damon. That's look, I must admit, you've.
Who's
Sorry?
sharing the screen? Who's sharing?
I don't know. That's Ant. You see,
I just want to stand up for Damon here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, the point is, Ant. No. See, the thing is, even though Ant is an honourable person who is the secretary and the chair of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association, he's actually in a secret, covert arrangement with Damon to try and purport to have photos that show his car in a different light. But
it's actually white inside, isn't it? You can really see the white.
Yeah, it's see, none of those color corrections. That's a bit better. Black and white makes it look a lot better. But it's just not red. But so Starlink. Look, if you're just a person that just wants internet, Starlink in Perth doesn't necessarily make financial sense. And the service sometimes does cut out, as we saw. Sorry, you just want to cut that out. Hang on, Ant. I'll just help you there. There we go. Cool. So it doesn't make financial sense
for users that are in the country or that don't have decent methods of getting broadband.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Richard Chapman put it really well. If you want to be part of that movement to I guess, somewhat subsidise or assist Starlink with their broader mission, then that's a very honourable thing to do. But again, it doesn't make pure economic sense on just using it in Perth. But it can make some sense because the number of dishes that will be available to use in Perth is limited, because it's a little bit like phone cells. There's only a certain number of phones that can operate in a limited area. So it's like a bit of a land grab. So if we basically bought ourselves a ticket and we've got our dish, and that won't be ever taken off us, but we will get options in the future to be able to take that dish in the back of our cars or in our cars, and then take it to a remote area, go camping in the future. And we'll be able to use it basically anywhere in Australia and probably anywhere in the world if we chose to lug it around or whatever. And the irony is, whereas the normal thing in Australia is, or in anywhere in the world is, you get great internet in a capital city or a major town, but if you're literally in the middle of nowhere, you get nothing, or you get crappy geostationary satellite internet, which is the something muster, Sky Muster, I think it is, program that Australia has for people in cattle stations and stuff, and it's very slow and very laggy. Starlink will eventually, with their version 3 satellites, I think it is, which have laser inter-satellite communications, they will actually have faster internet around the world than fibre optic cable, because the speed of light in a fibre optic cable is 2/3 that in a vacuum, and they will just pass the internet right around the vacuum of space much quicker. So in one sense, we're being a part of the future as being early adopters. It doesn't make financial sense. As we saw, well, as you saw, and I couldn't see, I lost internet for the best, and Pete did too, actually, but I recovered a bit later for a couple of minutes, and that was the price to pay, because it's not perfect. But, we are dabbling in something that's new, a little bit like electric cars, where,
So
10
I
years ago.
pre-ordered day one that you could actually pre-order for a service address just outside of Pemberton. It's my parents, they live down there. They need better internet than what they've currently got. Very slow.
Yep.
Mobile was like 1 bar signal for mobile broadband. Very bad. Now, so this has been over, I think it was February last year when you could first pre-order. And so one of my work colleagues, he ordered his in December, and he lives just out of Nana, which is very close, 75 kilometres from Pemberton. And he actually last week got his an email saying that he could order the hardware now. However, I still haven't received mine, and it's been over a year since I've had my pre-order in. So the only reason I can think of is that someone got given a latitude boundary, and Nannup fell inside of it, and Pemberton's still outside of it.
Yep.
Do you think of anything else?
That's dead right. So I know someone in Mouchet or Chittering, Lower Chittering, a Tesla owner, who's also keen on Starlink, and I checked, and he can get it. But for instance, Rob or Alex in Mandurah can't get it. And I mean, Mandurah is effectively an extended suburb of Perth. So, and they can't get Starlink.
That's really weird, because like this Nannup is included now. So
I just wonder, and I think Richard, I'm not sure if you had discussed this some weeks ago. I think it's got, because I think you were surprised, Richard, that there were Starlink was available in Perth, because you weren't sure about the licensing. So I wonder,
only because the last time I'd looked, they hadn't even applied for the license to serve metro areas in, even though I had already put my money down as a deposit.
So I wonder if it's possibly literally they have to get licenses in various regions, and I don't think it's technically like the satellites. Like clearly, when you look on the image here, like for instance, when I went to Kaiguna, sorry, I didn't go onto the screen. Sorry, apologies. when we went to Kaiguna, Kaiguna is about it's about here roughly. Now you can see that this satellite here is in communication with the Bullabulling ground station, and it's also would be in communication with the Pimba, South Australia ground station. And clearly, it's a very short hop between this satellite and roughly, actually, it's Kaiguna is just here. It's a bit hard to see, but that's a straight part of the Nullarbor there, and it's just Kaiguna is just here. So there is absolutely zero technical reason why Starlink couldn't have coverage here. And in fact, this is a great app. It's website called
it could be
Starlink.
contention ratio on the ground station.
True, but there's Starlink.sx, and if we go to this one, this is a heat map, and once I've got to reload, sorry, and then it will show a heat map, and it's very arduous on the computer to do this, so it'll show up in a sec, and it'll show all the hexagons, heat map enabled, sorry, I've got to do that, done, and then refresh. And this will show the actual coverage in Australia. Oh, here we go. It's just warming up. So yeah, but it's going to get better. So just let it build for a little bit as it iterates. And this is coverage. So all of these regions have got coverage. Although every now and then it changes. So there is zero doubt.
How did you get to that?
See this little hexagon symbol here?
Oh,
so
yes.
you go to starlink.sx, and then you press on the hexagons, which is what it says, show H3 hexagonal grid settings, and then you enable it, and you can calculate average and well, whatever. So and then you have to reload the page to show it. But remember your colleague Richard that came on a couple of months ago that you thought was in Headland, and it wasn't. She was actually was it Gosnells or Kelmsford or whatever?
Forestfield, I think.
Forestfield, perhaps, or something like that.
She also sends her apologies, by the way. She would join in on Wednesday night, but she has saxophone lessons, a saxophone group that she plays with on a Wednesday night. So she does send her apologies.
Yeah, well, look,
they are planning on getting a Tesla.
Look, Richard. So I was going to say, look, Richard. To be honest, I'd much rather have sax than ask us anything any day. So I don't blame her for prioritising her saxophone lessons at all. Boom, boom. But yeah. So back to this map. So you can actually clearly see that the vast amount of Australia, with as few as 4 ground stations in WA and a couple in South Australia and whatever. And getting back to you, Richard, for your purposes or commercial purposes, you only need 1 ground station in the Pilbara and it's covered. It's just done. Job done. Easy
Very
peasy.
much caught the attention of people at work, and if we're looking at it, people are coming out of the woodwork that I never would have thought about. That are like, oh yeah, I've got a Starlink dish, and I'm like, geez, okay. Geez, it feels like half of our comms team has got it, at least at port. So yeah, it's
I need the marine version with gimbal.
Sure, that will be huge.
Gimbaling dish to keep it steady. So then, that's what
I know they do gimbaling and microwave dishes and have done for years. So
yeah.
Well, Damon, all you for a ship, all you need is the standard Starlink dish. Well, actually, to be honest, because see, as you know, I've been crazy enough to mount my Starlink dish on the back of my car, and it's much more adverse because the Starlink biases itself to face southerly at a certain angle. That's just a preferential. It's where the satellites are a little bit more dense as they do that little belt down to the south of us in their orbit, which, by the way, looks like this. So most of this is the angle of my dish that this program's worked out, and it's facing this way because the satellites are slightly more dense because this is where they curve. So if we pick like this satellite, and it'll show the orbit. See how it curves around like this and then goes back up, and it just rinses and repeats each orbit. So if I just pick this next satellite, it shows the orbit. So the dishes naturally face southwards, but I've actually driven my car and done a U-turn, and the dish is facing the entirely incorrect position, and it still works at a reduced speed. So
did it only orient itself on boot up and then it just stayed?
No. After a little while, it'll get its crap together and it'll go, oh, actually, I need to reorient.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But it's a phased array. So, and the thing is, I'm using it in a completely off-label use. Like Starlink has, well, it's amazing that actually it works at all. But Starlink you'd think is generally, it would presume that it's in one location, and all that's to do is work out roughly where the satellites are and work out which way is north or south and what latitude you're in, or it'll be told that, and then just orient itself, and that's it, job done. And the motors will never move again. So your dishes, once they move into the position they like, they never change. They don't actively hunt, they don't move. Everything's on the phased array, which is done electronically.
Yep.
But in my car, I've done the most adverse situation, which is deliberately torture it by continually changing direction, unless you're on the freeway, and then it sort of generally goes in the same direction. But I surmise that if I actually cut the shaft off and disconnected the motor setup and just mounted it flat on my roof, it would work perfectly well. It might not get 300 megabits per second that you can sometimes get, but it might average 150 megabits per second, which is awesome. So Damon, when you were saying about being on a ship and you need gimbaling and stuff, I actually reckon as let's call it a basic 100 megabit per second global system, you could just mount it on the top deck and it will work perfectly.
Yeah, it's better than the 512K that we got.
Absolutely. And in fact, in aeroplanes, that's precisely what they're going to do. They're just going to have a phased array on the top, on that little hump. They're not going to move it. They're just going to face it straight up, and the phased array will do its magic. But I think what SpaceX has done with their terminal, the dish for us, is they've given it the best chance of getting the absolute best performance. So they've deliberately made it so it gimbals around and can move its angle. But it's only intended to do that basically once, and then it just set and forget.
So is that likely the type of communication satellite dish that Defense Department might use?
Yes,
absolutely.
There's a organization called Iridium that did not quite very low Earth orbiting satellites, but they did worldwide mobile communication for mobile phones. In fact, on your iPhones and probably Androids, you could actually get like an oversized case. It was like an adapter where you could put your mobile phone into this Iridium adapter. Actually, bearing in mind that Iridium actually went broke. So the company that launched Iridium is an element whose atomic number is 77. And they named it that because they thought they needed 77 satellites to give worldwide coverage. But they worked out it only had to be 66, and 66 is some other element that's not called Iridium, but the name stuck. But the Iridium system is still, the Iridium system is still operational, although it has gone broke and it's been phoenixed. And one of the biggest shareholders, or I don't know if they're actually shareholders, to be honest, but actually I think they might be, but they certainly are a very large customer, is the US military, because they've been given dedicated bandwidth on the Iridium system for their global communications and stuff. So there is zero doubt that SpaceX would not be doing contractual arrangements with various governments and other organizations, including military, for very low latency, so that means a very low delay, very fast internet.
So if you had one of those on a roof, how do you use it? Do you have to subscribe to someone?
No, right. So you go to SpaceX, Starlink. I think it's Starlink.com, where you just Google Starlink, and well, for instance, for you, Carmen, you're in Perth, so you just put your address, and they go yes. Now it's not cheap, so you've got to pay
No,
about.
I don't want one. What happens is that I've taken over a property that was used by Defence Housing, and it's got something similar to that on the roof.
No, it's probably just. I dare say it's probably just a Foxtel dish. If it's
Okay.
grey, if it's a grey color, or dark grey, it'll just be a Foxtel dish. So that's no
Oh.
big deal. That's nothing.
Right.
Starlink dishes are white, and they're very
Not white.
easy to notice. No, right. So that's just Foxtel, but anyway, but in any case, the Starlink, yeah, it's an awesome system. It's not actually intended for capital cities or well serviced smaller towns. Its magic happens with specialist applications. Either you want very low latency, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, like if you're between Chicago and New York Stock Exchange, some private consortium paid, I know it was dozens upon dozens of millions, and I think it might have been a couple of $100 million to get their own private fiber optic cable that was routed much straighter than the standard cables. And that was done because of speed, because they wanted high frequency trading between the two stock exchanges and stuff. But SpaceX could actually do better than that. Go, Jared.
I've got a question for Harold. Why is Jeff Parry in Kiev right now? Do they often send old reporters to frontline war zones when they want to get rid of them? Or
Is that because if he gets shot, he'll say Jeff Parry 7 nightly news?
as he's bleeding out?
Yes.
That makes sense. I couldn't work out why.
7.
Couldn't work out why they sent Jeff Parry to the front line.
That's why.
He's trying to
Now, I
make
think
a
that
name
might
for
be a good
himself
time.
before
Now-
he
now,
falls off
this-
the perch.
I thought he might be asking for more money or something, and that's why they said you need
Well,
to go.
No, because the workers' comp claim, if he does get shot, will be a lot less, because as Damon is alluding to, his future earnings capacity is limited at his advanced years.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Thanks for that, man.
Now, this might be a good time to have a little pause, because Damon has not seen one of these pauses. Apologies to you, Ashley. I do highly encourage you, even if you just lurk and listen in, then you'll be able to join in with the salacious activities that are about to be undertaken. So we'll be back with you. Well, for you, it'll be just a few milliseconds, and for us, it could be a couple of hours. You never know your luck. Now, well, welcome back, Damon. Oh, no, you actually never left. Oh, great. But welcome back, Ashley and Joseph and Chris and everyone else in YouTube land. We're really sorry you missed it. But Damon, by the way, do you think it's worth watching us live for the salacious bits that we cut out?
It is beneficial. There is lots of juicy stuff that actually happens. So, yeah, it's now 2:00 in the morning.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. Yes, it's actually Thursday night.
Where's Russell?
Well,
Where's Russell? I want to know where Russell
where's
is.
Russell?
Is he out there with some strap-on thing going around, or where is he right now? Like
He
that?
must be working.
Yeah, we know what he does. At
Yes.
night, don't we? Yeah.
He's pole starring somewhere.
He's pole
Very
starring
good.
somewhere. I just hope he's safe and he's not flicking his thing around in the wind and getting COVID.
Now it's great that you said that, Jared, about flicking things around, because there was something that was flicked around in China quite recently, and because Damon is live on TV with us, I think it's good to show him what he saw last week on Ask Us Anything, and it goes a little bit like this. Oh. Oof.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a beauty. Oh. That was at Karen Up Shopping Centre today, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome footage, and like you said, Damon, it just shows that, well, the Model X or the Model Y or probably Model 3 or S for that matter, just they stick to the road like the proverbial does to a blanket.
There's
And that's
hardly
just
any body roll
impressive.
there. You can see there's minimal body roll. First he brakes, but then it's quite a sharp turn. Now, look at that.
Yeah. You know what
Look at
saved him? You know what saved him was the fact that he didn't have the ABC on. If he didn't have the ABC, if he had the ABC on, he would have been written off. Nothing would have stopped him. Look at that.
Normally, any other vehicle, the back end would start to spin out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Richard Cooper's a good driver. I tell you, he's old, but he's good.
Tell you a funny story.
Ooh,
I tuned the suspension on my Lotus a few years ago, and I just finished it. I got it really nice, and I'm driving up Walcott Street, and I'm in the left-hand lane, and there's a guy in the right-hand lane, and he slowed down to turn right, and I slowed down a little bit, and as he slowed down to turn into an intersection, a big old bloody tank pulled straight out in front of me, and I had to just do a vicious left turn to miss him. I just missed him, and I mounted the curb through the other side of the intersection and pulled it back on the road and got out and checked that I didn't wreck my car. But if I hadn't got my suspension working, I think I would have cleaned him up. It was like I must have missed him by 6 inches. And those cars are pretty nimble, let me tell you. So.
Absolutely, and that is so impressive. Now, because Chris is back in the building, Damon, I think you said that Chris's show it's all right. It could be better. But no,
I was saying it's okay, could be, but I was saying they need uniforms. They need sync uniforms. They should be wearing Star Trek uniforms when they do it. So they should be more like what are they called? Oh shit. Round the world, they got the song. Round the world, round the world. What's that song?
Yes.
The mask guys. The what are they called? Oh shit! It will come to me. Oh, talk about
you guys are getting pretty excited here.
Yeah, they're two guys.
It's a 19. Yeah. It's all around the world. I can't put it on because we get demonetized, and it's going to hurt us if we do that.
You Chris, need to do that. You guys need to get helmets so don't show your face.
Yes.
You do full. No shit, you'll be famous. That's it. It'll be like the
Daft Punk. Daft Punk.
Thanks, Pete.
All around the world. But for those that aren't aware of what Chris has done, and bear in mind, because Chris is here with us live, I can claim on behalf of Tokwa full responsibility for giving Chris the inspiration.
Yeah.
Which for me was easy to say, and for him it was hard to do. But he did deliver, and he delivered in spades. And for those of us that haven't seen it, which is none of us, we've all seen it. Let's just relive that experience.
Again. Look at that.
Y'all ready for this?
That's
So,
just
one
too unlimited.
One little bit of advice, Chris, that I'd do with that, I'd get a haze machine. And what's that shit music in the background? How? What are you doing? So I'd definitely get a haze machine and put it out of shot and have a bit of haze wafting through.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Oh,
Hey,
stop it, Jared.
Call me a lighting designer. Call me.
You
a
don't want
lighting
to do
designer.
that because
Now
that,
you're
they'll
entering
think the
my
batteries
world.
are on fire.
Okay, my world is what you're doing. Okay, a haze machine in the background.
No,
Pick up the beams, and it'll look fucking great. That will look really.
They'll
good.
think the batteries are on fire.
No, definitely. And try and lose the house lights. Turn the house lights off or minute them down if you can. I don't know.
Yeah, and forget the fact that the coppers are about to arrest you for
No,
trespassing
that's
after hours. Don't worry about that. It's just minor details.
How we can get more views, Chris, is if everyone's out of the cars and we're doing it nude. Whole different ballgame. I reckon we can Scandinavian market. We can go to Europe. Europe will take it by storm. It'll be great, I reckon.
Oh,
And
dude, you've just ruined the whole evening, Jared.
We'll change the name to the Fast Chargers Brothers. Fast Charge Brothers. That's it.
So you need to have it so that security drives past in the background with its lights flashing.
Yeah, exactly. I will love it. I will love it. Because it's good, Chris. It really is.
I think you need to get $1 million worth of Porsche Taycans and get them to do that.
It'd be too slow, mate.
They couldn't do that in the pink fit, could they? You could
No,
get $1
they
million.
could actually. No, they
Really?
couldn't because the Tesla made that software generally available.
Open source.
It's not, it's open source. It's not limited to Tesla, so any car can do it.
That's right.
So Chris, since we've got you on the show live, how long did that take for you to do?
As in the sequence?
As in programming, sequencing and programming and all that sort of stuff.
It's not easy.
The sequencing probably took, I reckon, a night per car. So you're talking about maybe 2 hours, 3 hours per car, I reckon, over 5 nights. And then obviously one night to make sure everything is in sync and just trial and error. So that's probably over about a week and a half's work, solid.
That's if you know what you're doing too.
Yeah, and obviously that was trial and error because before we were just doing one song where all the cars used to sing, I guess, sequence, and that was easy, obviously, because all the cars would just play the same sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting it to all like do the wave or the strobe, that was a bit more difficult. In terms of a lot of people ask about the trigger mechanism we use.
That's proprietary. That's a secret sauce that, like the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices, Chris will not divulge except to me, and I'll hold him to ransom. And I promise I won't sell it to the lowest bidder.
I will do it live though, because a lot of people think that it's not done live. I can prove that it's done live, obviously.
Oh.
I actually have a video of us. It's all I guess triggered by radio wave or Bluetooth. So we trigger it.
Chris, you can tell that anyone intelligent that looks at that video can tell it's not doctored, because all you got to do is look at the reflections on the concrete. Because that was one method I thought you could have used initially. Was the simplest is just segment the bits and just copy and paste them and synchronize them, job done, and it's still impressive. But you can obviously see on your footage, it's one take, it's undoctored, the reflections are consistent. And remember how not all the lights look consistent because of the silly Tesla matrix bits that it doesn't cooperate properly.
Because the main beam projects Tesla. Obviously, if the gap is facing the camera, you don't get that full beam.
That's probably why, Chris, it's important to do it in the nude. Then people can see that it's a cold night and things aren't projecting as well as they should do. Then they'll know it's more authentic, that it's really the real thing. So
You're really not a well man, are you, Jared?
It's getting late. What's going on? It's 7:30.
But it's
I'm missing Russell.
But Chris, it's an awesome thing, and look,
it's amazing.
I'm only, when I say I'm claiming credit, I'm only doing it in jest, but I'm really glad that I challenged you to do it, because that result is exactly what I wanted, and that is just awesome. You've delivered, and it's fantastic.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, definitely looking forward to.
And by the way, you've got you've got nearly 16,000 views. By the way, 15,954 views on YouTube, and that's fantastic.
And Chris, if you want a hazer, I'll lend you. I've got a spare one at home, so just let me know if you want a hazer, and you can borrow a hazer and just put a bit of haze in there, and it'll look pick up all those beams shooting out. It'll look great.
Might take you up on that.
Yeah,
Actually,
not
I
smoke.
actually have,
It's not a big puff of smoke, so you don't see any smoke. It's just a light oil-based oil
You know what I mean?
that will pick up the beams without highlighting the smoke. So it's it will work really well. It'll really
Hey Jared, will that be okay with? Is it compatible with? I presume because you're using nightclubs and stuff. It is compatible with smoke detectors. It won't set them off or anything.
No, it won't
It's
set
it's
them
just a
off,
glycol or whatever you call it.
It's actually Shell-on-Dena oil. It's the hazer's new Shell-on-Dena oil. What the hazer is instead of a big puff of white smoke, where a lot of artists go, oh, I'm going to get asthma, I'm going to get sick, I can't have that, and then that just kills the whole light show. They invented this. Well, they had it for years. Shell-on-Dena oil, cracked substance, and basically the hazer puts out a light mist, and you can't actually see it, but the beams of light pick it up, and it makes the light show look 50 times bigger than what it is. And with what you're doing, Chris, that'd be perfect. You just have it out of shot, have a fan behind it, blow the haze into the room, and then do that show. And I'll tell you, you'll go, fuck, I'm glad I listened to Jared.
Do you need an inverter because we need a power source?
You just need to take a little Honda generator, like a little one of those little 1600 Honda generators will power. 40-volt power source.
we'll see what we
Hey
can
Chris,
do. We do have some ideas. Some people suggested we do a drone shot, maybe at Elizabeth Key, like really early in the morning when there's no one around or something. That's just some ideas we just have floating.
Wow.
So,
How much
Well,
power
the
does that
city
thing
of Perth
use,
would probably
Jared?
be very little. Very
You'd
little.
use power out of your Tesla, the inverter, 300 watts.
Yeah, more like about 500 watts. It probably needs at least. I'd have to check the
Well,
specifications, but
we can get like a 1200 watt inverter
yeah, that's all you need.
and just have that as local power from a car.
Do you know
and,
Basil Zemplis, as much as he's a fantastic Lord Mayor, thank God he's not reading the news anymore because he can spend more time being a Lord Mayor. He'd be right into having the drone, I reckon, the cars, because he's right into the drone thing. He's like right into that whole, the light show thing. So I reckon if we approached this, the Perth City Council, I reckon they'd go, yeah, they'd find a venue that you could probably do it in, one of their big car parks, maybe, where their high-rise car parks. They'd probably go, yeah, you could do it one night there, promoting the City of Perth. They'd be into it, I reckon. So,
Actually, Jared, just hang on 2 seconds.
I'm gonna get ahead.
Oh, and we're back. Sorry about that little interruption, Damon. Wakey, this is your this is your 6th half hour. So please do pay attention.
I'm
Damien's a shout out to Ashley and
right now.
And yeah.
You always got to shout out to Elon. He always watches.
Is Richard Chapman still there? Is he just going to sleep now? Richard Chapman, you still there? I'm sure. Yeah.
Just got out of the shower, Joe.
Oh, damn, we missed it. That's
getting ready for the light show.
Me and
I've
Carmen
got to
love
go in
that
a
bit.
minute,
That's our
though.
favourite bit.
I've got to get up for work in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, like an hour and a half, don't you? Start work,
No.
Yeah, okay. You have a good
Well,
swim.
welcome back, Richard.
Well,
See you next week.
okay, Jared. Good night. Some
Good
of
night.
us do.
Good night,
have-
Carmen.
Good night,
We're going to
Carmen.
wrap
Take
up.
care.
We're going to wrap up very shortly. But yeah, so Chris, if we can help at all, in any respect, we will. We're at your beck and call, because what you've done is awesome, and it's been great for Tesla too. It's look. Let's hope Tesla provides better tools for synchronization, and obviously you've had to do it the hard way, which is individually program each car and think about, comparing 2 tracks and all that sort of stuff. Well, Elon, because we know you're watching, just provide Chris with the tools to do multi-channels simultaneously. Just have multiple lines for different cars and have 10 channels, so you could have 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 or 60 cars, and imagine how awesome that would be as a big long sequence.
I think the biggest request that people are asking for is the memory allocation that we're allowed to as well. So the reason why the video is only 90 seconds long is we're only allowed X number of commands. I think it's like 681 commands. So each trigger, a light on and off, that's 2 commands.
Yeah, right.
So I use up pretty much 650 commands in 90 seconds. So that is the main bottleneck that people are actually requesting.
Is that because... Sorry,
Like if you
go,
start
Pete.
moving mirrors and windows and the boot and stuff, that's another command.
Correct, and that's why we don't use Windows or boot, especially at night time. No one really sees it, so
Yeah, exactly.
we just say this purely for lighting.
Although
Yeah,
we
good
could have
move.
the boot open, Chris, and dancing girls pop out. That's the sort of stuff that attracts attention.
So if you did like a really fast track, like, I don't know, Oxygen 2 or something, where it's really intense, Takata or whatever, you're just going to burn up commands in no time.
Yeah, so there's one guy on YouTube, he did the Tesla Model X factory stock light show. So he did that for the Model 3 and he went through the commands in 39 seconds, I think it was. So
Oh, wow.
it
Well,
wasn't even
yeah.
like a quarter
That's
of
not
it.
enough time. People's pills aren't going to kick in. They need it longer. Definitely.
So we need longer, more memory allocation, more commands,
Correct.
and simultaneous composition for separate cars or separate tracks, and better synchronization. Which, I mean, look, that could be done if you could get a Tesla app or some app and log in the account details of each car that's participating, and allocate it the various tracks and just go synchronizing, or just let's say synchronize now and just job done.
It's a job for Pete Ship. Pete's a man. He's going to make it happen. He's reading it like a fucking watch. He's on it. He's going to make that happen. Pete.
All right, so it's getting late. I mean, well, it's not getting late. It already is late. It are late. Tesla share price for anyone that cares. Well, we sort of do, but you know, we're playing long game, so unless we're doing day trading, it doesn't matter. But it's it's
Yeah.
$7.98.83.
I think we need to look at something else in the share price now every night. Is the war started or is it not started? That's the question that we need to know now.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a war ticker. If there's a futures in the
Hey,
war.
if Jeff Parry's there, it's serious. Because it doesn't get any more serious than that guy. You know,
It depends how long he says 7 nightly news,
I mean, he's got the
because
whole-
eventually he'll go flat.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's a good chance that he'll crop a stray bullet.
It's funny how the media tell everyone to leave, but then they send their own media there.
Yeah, well,
Cover it.
Jeff asked for more money and a bigger change room and a better makeup lady. And they said, I just need to go to Kiev right now. We
What?
need you
And did he ask for a bit more travel because he's bored? And they went, "Yeah, we've got a great destination for you.
Yeah.
Special tickets,
Yeah, I wonder
discounted rate."
I reckon he would have flown from Perth to Darwin, Darwin to London, London to Kiev, maybe.
He gets the danger
Yeah.
uplift pay.
But wasn't he puzzled at the fact it was a one-way flight? And they're going, "Why? Where's the return ticket?" And they go, "You won't need a return ticket."
Yeah, well, it would have
Only
been
kidding.
It would have been
Only
good.
kidding, Jeff.
No,
Like your work, it's very good. You're an experienced journalist, and you'll do a great job for as long as that takes. Okay, so before we go and say goodnight for this week, and it's been a long week with Margaret River and 300 Teslas at the port that are going to be delivered in the next few weeks before the end of March.
Oh.
Any other last things that we've got before we wind up? Anyone?
That's pretty much it. Disappointment. Richard Chapman didn't do his walk. You know, they've changed the rules up there at the camp, I believe, so he can't go walking anymore.
Yeah, I'm just being lazy.
Oh, is that it? Yeah, right. There you go. Good to see
Right, so
Damon
you're not feeling feverish there, Richard, or anything. You're not sweating profusely.
Tickle in my throat. Quite hard to breathe.
I tell you what, someone who personally has what's that called? Allergic rhinitis, where your nose runs for weeks on end. It's yeah.
Mad.
Anyway, it's all good. Okay, anyone else got any comments, questions?
Chris, you need any help with anything, feel free to contact me. I'll help you. Whatever I can do.
No worries, thanks, Jared. I actually don't have your numbers, so.
Oh, really?
Put it. Hey, Jared, put it in the chat
Oh,
so
you've got my
then Chris
Harold,
can.
I don't
Hang
Harold's
on, I
got
don't know.
Harold's got my number. So
Harold's got everyone's number. He's dodgy as, like, he's got everyone's number.
No. So actually, speaking of numbers, I'll just reiterate that helpline, which is, and I mean that as I mean that. Yeah, that's right. Now that'd be great fundraising activity for TOCWA. By the way, we do have patreon.com/TOCWA. We're on YouTube, obviously.
Thing. Sorry, that Patreon thing, is that for just people that got too much money, like from Mammoth? I can't say the word.
Yeah, clearly it's
for people and how many members are actually paying that now? The top premium
It's
members.
for people that think $20 is too cheap for membership.
Yeah, you know that Elon donated $5,000 to charity.
5 billion.
Sorry, 5 billion. Sorry, well, million, billion, 5,000. It's. Sorry, I didn't have to say the M word because that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to be vulgar and say the M word, but well, just look amongst affluent people. We just talk about the thousands. We don't care about the millions because that's just said. We know that. It's a rounding error. So clearly, Elon did donate $5 billion to a charitable organisation, and we know he's a great Patreon of TOCWA. So the state government has committed $20 million to fast DC infrastructure, and TOCWA, once the money comes through, I'm sure our bank manager will tell us when it does come through. We'll just 100 bag it and put some real stuff in there. But yeah, we might do that in a pink fit. So I was looking up something for Chris, and I was just checking that I've got Chris's number.
Yeah, it's Chris.
No, I don't have your number, Chris.
Really?
Actually, what I'll do.
I'll miss call you. Hang on, and
no, that's cool.
When the money comes through, it'll be Cybertrucks for everyone, won't it, Harold?
Jared, I've texted.
It does, absolutely. So that's my number, everyone. So in case you didn't know, and
everyone's got your number.
TOCWA's official number is.
Most call it Walls. It's Harold.
TOCWA's official helpline or info line number is 62623131.
And who's answering that? Who's actually answering? Some guy in Manila? Hello? Yeah. And then Googling the problem? I cannot judge the car. Hello. What's going on? English is my first language.
I think Pete already answered that
Who's
question.
answering the phone? Is it just you, Harold?
At the moment it is, but it won't be that forever. So eventually we'll work out how to
someone can palm it on.
PABX that number to multiple committee members, and we'll have an answering machine so that if you ring after hours, it won't wake us up, and unless it's like a Wednesday night and we're already awake.
Exactly. Good thing.
So yeah, but the point of it is that it's often better to speak to someone and ask a few questions, or come on to ask us anything, obviously, to interact, because it's quicker than emails and text and stuff. So it's just a service to new members or even existing members that want some advice. So yeah, Chris, sorry, I've got to get you Jared's number.
I'm putting in the chat now.
Yeah, just put it in the chat, mate.
Yeah. Jared, I've DM'd you already my number.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Jared, your camera's dropped down.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just because I can't read the top screen while I type in this number. 873.
Well, thanks, everyone. This is my first time on the Zoom, even though that I've watched everyone.
There you go, Chris.
Good to see you, mate.
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah, no,
be on
it's
for
awesome
the next
that-
few weeks. I'm actually
Chris, it's in there.
flying out on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought your therapist might have said that you should only watch this once a year because to do anything else is disturbing. But sorry, I'm just typing in Jared's number and I hope that's right. 2 seconds, Damon. Okay, that's in chat now. So you got that, Chris?
Yes.
That's it there.
Thank you.
So yeah, but yeah, thanks, Damon. That's like I said, you can now see the behind the scenes, which is a little bit entertaining. I mean, I think tonight was particularly entertaining, just quietly. Because it's always good to have a little treasure hunt and have a little tote on certain results. But having said that, we'll have some last comments and then we'll just wrap this up because it's already 7 to 12, and I've got to join these two videos together tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of fun and joy. But anyway, so anyone got anything for us before we wrap up?
No. Good night.
Nope. Okay. All right. So on that note, with the imminent opening of the Margaret River supercharger, which is awesome, and the delivery of in excess of 300 cars into Freo, which is even awesomer. Thank you everyone for being here. Damon in person, Ashley, Chris, Joseph, and many others watching us on YouTube. We thank you very much for persisting, even if you've got to do it in half-hour slots. Look after all of yourselves. Stay safe. As Pete would say, but only Pete can say, what do you say, Pete?
Stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And on that note, I've got nothing more to add. So
One last note: it's red, not burnt orange.
Sorry, we always like to end an episode on a bit of fake news, and Damon has just delivered it. Thank you very much, Damon. We'll see you sometime next year.